planning board meeting, April 19th. 6:30, hearing is a continued public hearing for J. Whitney Development, 50 Old Mill Road, Leominster. Definitive subdivision, the development of an industrial subdivision of Central Street, Leominster, near the Leominster-Sterling line.
For the record, my name is Bill Hannigan Engineering. With me is Peter Kimbrasso of Kimbrasso Law Office. And we're here tonight to continue the discussions regarding the subdivision in Leominster, Massachusetts, at the Sterling-Leominster town line. I wasn't at the last meeting, so if I go over something that you've already gone over, just stop me, so we don't want to extend it. Prior to the last meeting, we had received comments from the DPW, the various boards. We've gone through many of those comments. We've issued a comment response letter. These plans now reflect the resolution of those issues. Some minor things, the DPW wanted to have the trees, in fact, outside of the right-of-way as proposed, so they are shown that way. They wanted us to put bounds on all of the easement locations where lines cross property lines and at the right-of-way. There were issues regarding the water, the question of adequate pressure. We said we would perform a flow test, which we have not, we've scheduled, but it's not been performed as of yet due to weather. Now we're finding any weather we can actually perform that. Regardless of we know that there's enough volume in this line. The real question is pressure. So if the flow test proves out that there will be inadequate pressure for both domestic and fire protection use within the development, then we would have to add a booster pump station, which would be built according to city standards. And we've talked to the DPW about that, specifically John Roseberry. So that would be the water situation would be handled in that manner. We're anticipating, quite frankly, that if we do tie in here, that in fact we will be required to put a booster pump station on this property project. Sewerage is being handled by an on-site pump station, which also will be built according to the city of Leominster standards, flood and suction system that will be able to service this development. As part of our discussion with the DPW on the force main, the force main is slated to go out, back up to the subdivision roadway, and then go along the shoulder down Central Street, tie into a proposed gravity line that we'll be installing that would connect to the gravity sewer line that's coming from the subdivision off of Leggett Hill Road and down over to Drive Tech Road. I talked to John about that today. His concern that was raised was he would like to have the sewer main brought to the center of the roadway. Obviously, that's a lot more expensive for us to do. One of the things we talked about doing, though, was as we went by lots along the way, providing laterals across the highway so that we could lessen the cost of the sewer tie-in. We've done that at another project, another town with Mass Highway, and they actually prefer that alternative where this is a state road. We would have to seek their input and approval for that construction work as well.
So you'd still go down the center, or you go to the side?
We would go down the shoulder, and we would provide service laterals across the street to the existing lots. Okay. What we also did on another project, at their suggestion, was to actually make some of those service laterals going across the street, make them into 8-inch mains, so that if the land that is presently undeveloped in that area, or any stretch that we're going along is undeveloped, if it got cut up into additional lots, people could tie in down the shoulder of the road on the other side. And not have to cross back over the highway to get to our sewer main with a main line versus a lateral line. There's a difference from a permitting perspective. John was relatively comfortable with that. He wanted to see what Mass Highway had to say once we got the permit for, well, the subdivision approval, we'd then be applying for Mass Highway for that sewer work. And at that point, we'd have further discussions regarding the sewer, but for the most part, he was comfortable with that alternative. Those are the major issues that were brought up with respect to the subdivision from the department heads.
Trace that sewer line for us.
Excuse me?
Can you trace the line that you were just discussing?
The force main would be coming up here, going into the shoulder, and then would continue down further down the road here. On the plan set, it's shown on the plan set.
So how far? Approximately.
I'd have to pull the plan set out and take a look at that.
So there's nothing there now, and this will be another, what, 500 feet?
Yeah, it's probably more like 1,000 feet to where we can tie into it, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And that would be a gravity section that we'd be putting in once the force main will be. We've also had correspondence with, significant correspondence with National Grid regarding the, not only the access and them providing both a site distance and curbing easement in this particular location. If you look at the property line, we've shown that in here, the property line comes down to a point and then continues this right-of-way layout. What we were proposing would be an easement through here that we would have our curb radius in that location that would then tie into our taper, which would be connecting back to the main line of the Mass Highway edge of pavement right now. We've talked about this particular area. They're running through the process of actually establishing the easement documents at this point in time. So this has all been worked out with respect to that. The other area that they were talking about was the actual on-site work, what would be allowed in here. We've given them some concept plans of what we would develop on that. Putting a building in the remaining building area, which would be outside of the power lines, and then doing the parking areas in such a manner that we wouldn't affect any existing locations of poles or guys, and we would also not impede them from putting future poles in this location. This is the location that we're very concerned about because of the fact that, as you can see, the easement kind of bends here, so that's an angle point in the line. When they're going straight back and forth, they can make adjustments this way with the line and with the location of poles. When they're in an angle point situation, they really have to keep the line of poles essentially in the same line to make that angle point going around. They are talking about bringing a future line approximately in this location, which would require a pole here and then an angle and a bend. So essentially on our concept plan that we give it to them, we have the parking in this location and the parking in this location with nothing in an island area right here, which they're very comfortable with. We've worked with the engineering company that's doing the consulting for National Grid on that, and that's been approved. That particular aspect. So right now we're waiting for the assent documents to do the work underneath the easement, and the easement comes under their easement, and an easement document from them to actually put this curb radius in here, site distance as well, to be able to allow us to clear as needed, and that easement will be transferable to the city of Leominster upon acceptance of the roadway.
And so the buildings that you have can be sited on those, what are you talking about, 3 buildings?
Yeah, we're basically talking about 3 building pads, if you will. This would be 1 building pad in here. We've laid out, I think it was a 4-story office building, which required somewhere around 65 or 70 parking spaces, and we were able to get all that to work on the site. And these are all concepts. We don't have a tenant or a buyer for any of these lots. We're just trying to gear toward a certain type of use, more on the high tech versus the manufacturing, to try to see if we can spur the availability of that lot in that type of a fashion and see if that works with the marketing. One of the other comments that John brought up with respect to the drainage was that there were a couple of piping runs and reaches, as they're called, in the drainage calculations that he couldn't find information on the plan. And the reason being is that we've designed this detention basin to accommodate the drainage from this site. So there wouldn't be any additional site drainage with respect to detention basins needed to accommodate this particular site right here. Okay. The second building pad would be in this area right in here. We would be providing drainage, which is laid out approximately in this location right here. Everything more or less pitched to the back. Once again, we just basically consider this fully impervious area for now in order to rough out about what we would need to make sure that the lot sizes were about right. The rear lot, once again, the building pad area would be up in this area here, which is coming down and moving back up, which we would then allow drainage to be put somewhere along the lower area towards the wetlands, which allow us to discharge that as well.
Well, that's third, and how are we going to get to that?
This is a driveway, which would be a driveway to access this piece right here, which is also the driveway that provides access to the sewer pump station. And that's the third. This is the third pad right here, the second right here.
That's a driveway or a road?
Driveway. This would be like a common driveway that you could enter into this piece here. This driveway would come out through here. You could enter into this piece here, and then this piece was then access right in here. It's not a road. It's not proposed to be a road.
And how wide is that driveway going to be?
Shown on the plan at 24 feet. This is the first section. What we did was when we developed the lot lines, since we don't really have tenants, it's not typical, like a residential site where you just put the houses there and do the driveways and grade the whole thing out and show everything. What we try to do is lay out the site to take advantages of these areas that we'd be able to develop, knowing that we had to put the pump station at the low point. So if the pump station has to be at the low point, you got to provide access to it from the city. So there's actually an easement that goes down here that would access the pump station as well. The driveway for this lot would go right along that easement and continue out.
And how long is that road/driveway?
The driveway is about 600 feet to the pump station.
And how long is the main road?
The main road is 500, yeah, just under 500.
So really, to that piece of property, you have a roadway or connecting of over 1,100 feet.
Well, the driveway would be additional, but that's not, we're not getting frontage off of that.
Okay. Yeah, I realize.
Correct.
Well, where's your frontage gonna be?
The frontage is right up in here. Just put it back like this. The frontage for industrial is only 30 feet. We're in the zoning on that.
Okay. Okay, at this time, I'd like to open this up to anyone in the audience.
I'm Bob Protown from the Sterling Planning Board. I'd like to say, and the comment I make may not have to do directly with this subdivision that the engineer is proposing this evening. However, the developer has made it very clear that he does want to build a 128-unit housing and wants to access it off this industrial road. I would like you to give some serious consideration to the letter that you people got from Copeland Page, which outlines why some of this is illegal and what some of the rights of the City of Leominster's Planning Board has. We are going to create, with this 128-foot, or 28-unit housing, some serious consequences to Route 12. And characteristically, the town of Sterling doesn't allow a subdivision that only has one access to that many housing units. And there is no other facility at this time for the development to get a second egress from this development. So we are asking the city of Leominster to take these things into consideration. The developer, when he came before the planning board in Sterling to tell us what he would like to do, made a comment that he never intended this road, this subdivision road, to be a public road. I think in one of your rules and regs, it says you cannot access residential property through industrial property on a non-approved road. And it's outlined in the letter from Corporal Page. So, as a representative of the town of Sterling and the Sterling Planning Board, I realize that the proposed subdivision of 128 units is not what you're directly discussing this evening, but it's been made very clear and it's very public knowledge that that's what the developer intends to do. And we don't think this will be a safe situation for the city of Leominster, nor do we think it's going to be a very safe place for the town of Sterling. We appreciate whatever you can do to limit what the developer is allowed to do in our town. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Attorney Robert Coleman, and I represent the abutter in Sterling and Brockwell. We've been here before, and I guess the way I will start off is the same way I started off the last time when I got into a little trouble. The proponents failed to mention the primary purpose for this roadway in Leominster is it's the only access they have to the property in Sterling. And before I step out of line, is the roadway any different on this plan than it was on the last plan? It's the same roadway coming in.
That's as submitted to us.
The cul-de-sac road is the same. And so you have this cul-de-sac road, and someplace on the cul-de-sac road, you're going to see an opening to go into Sterling. And that creates the 128 subdivision. And one of the questions that Mr. Whitney was asked at the zoning board hearing in Sterling the last time we were there, and by the way, they're there tonight, at the same time that we're here, it's called divide and conquer, but that's okay. Except that it doesn't, it turns out, deprive the members of this board who wanted to hear what the Sterling consultants for traffic were going to say. But it turns out, I guess they're not there tonight either, so they have to have that another night. But in any event, getting back to the facts, it's going into Sterling, and they failed to mention this the first time, they failed to mention it tonight. Mr. Whitney, at the hearing, when one of the members of the board was concerned about what kind of industrial was going in there next to the residential, asked him what he was going to put there. Mr. Whitney's answer, I have no idea, I've never done it before. And at least tonight we have an office building, although I think that office building is in the lot that they claim they got, which is almost completely within the right-of-way of the National Grid. The other two have a lot of wetlands with them, but they seem to be telling us anyways that they're going to squeeze buildings in there. But it's a tough thing to ask you to do. But I believe, and I can't see it from here, I believe that this plan should be rejected tonight because it shows a zoning violation and it has nothing to do with the cul-de-sac road. I believe beyond the cul-de-sac road, if it's still there, they show another right-of-way that's going to run up, and that's going to be their second exit out of the Sterling property. And I hate to tell you what I said when I was showed that, it isn't a second exit. It comes out at the same spot. When you go up the cul-de-sac and in, when you come out, you're going to go out to the same area, so that's where the accident was, and you don't have a second exit. Matter of fact, the Sterling people, I think it was the fire department, I'm not sure, it could have been, who commented, said 2 exits on Route 12. And they don't have 2 exits, but that's not your concern. But your concern is, or your concern should be, and I think you are, that you're being asked to approve this cul-de-sac road for the purpose of granting ingress and egress to the 128-unit development in Sterling. The water and sewer comment you heard tonight from Mr. Hannigan all pertain, as would do, all pertain to Leominster property. There's going to be water coming up, as I understand it, from Sterling, going up the road in Leominster into the lot. I further understand, although it's something to change, that the sewer from Sterling is going to be connected to the Leominster sewer. So I hope the Willard Avenue sewer doesn't have much trouble if that's where it's going as opposed to Central Street. But it's going in there. So what you do here will greatly impact what's going to happen. And because of the Copeland and Page letter, I believe that you cannot approve the plan tonight because it shows a zoning violation at this time. I realize Mr. Whitney is trying to do something else. I don't know if that will affect it. And good luck to him if he accomplishes it. That petition's been before your board. But I think the plan should be rejected based on the facts of that zoning violation that is shown on that plan at this time.
Well, that's what I just questioned him
What is the zoning
about.
violation?
Well, the
That had
driveway,
nothing to do with the driveway.
What's the zoning?
Is there a second ingress and egress on this plan from the Sterling property?
I don't know what that has to do with, you're making a statement that there's a zoning violation, which I think's been addressed.
I don't think it has. I think the Kaufman page, is there on that plan, or is there on a plan, a second ingress and egress?
please address your questions here.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I
Yeah, okay,
apologize.
that's all right. Yes, Mr. Hannigan.
I believe what Mr. Bowling is referring to is the second means of egress from the Sterling project. We have, on the Sterling project side, we have obviously proposed in front of them.
Please stand so we can hear, I can't hear you, I'm having that trouble.
I think...
I've got the floor right behind me, so.
The answer to the direct answer to the question is, on the submittal to the town of Sterling, to their zoning board of appeals for the 40E application, one of the concerns that they raised when we initially filed our submittal to the state for the site approval was that the site only had one way in, one way out, and we should, be ready to address that with the town and show some alternatives. There is a second way out of the project in Sterling into Leominster to access the cul-de-sac road. That second access has always been discussed along the lines of potential emergency access.
So on the Sterling drawing, there's a second, shows a second road connecting up to the cul-de-sac,
Correct.
but not on this plan.
Correct.
Is there any indication on this? I don't have it. I can't see the plan, so.
Doesn't appear.
We can show you the plan. The plan's right.
No, it's,
I mean, we can show you the Sterling plan if you need us.
no, the Sterling plan, I'm aware of the Sterling issues,
Okay.
okay? That's not my problem, at this time. We'll take this at face value. I'm taking this, I want to let you know, I'm taking this at face value. The issues at Sterling will also be addressed, okay? And that's what I'm saying is now, the question that was brought up was on water and sewer. And I'll ask either one of you, is there any kind of a plan for an intermunicipal agreement between Leominster and Sterling to have water and sewer through this?
I think, in all due respect...
And I think that's what it would require.
Okay, in all due respect, I think what we have to try to be cautious of and careful of is, there's no doubt about it. There's two projects that are being proposed here. One of the city of Leominster, one of the town of Sterling. We are at the, permit stage with each proposal. We're here with the Leominster Planning Board for approval of a subdivision plan, and we're before the Zoning Board of Appeals in the town of Sterling for a comprehensive permit application. How we proceed in the town of Sterling with the water and sewer line, I can't give you an answer to that tonight because in order for us to proceed, we would need an intermunicipal agreement between the city of Leominster and the town of Sterling to connect the sewer line into the project.
And that's all I had to hear.
We have talked to the selectmen. We're in the process of speaking with the town boards, but I can't say that we have an agreement because we don't.
That's not my question was.
Okay. And
My
same with the
question
water.
was, if you were to do this, you would need an intermunicipal agreement. That was my question. Is that a fact?
If we,
So therefore, that's not this planning board, that's up to the city council and the mayor,
correct.
okay? That's the only point that I bring it up, as far as intermunicipal agreements are not part of the planning board criteria. That's up to the city council and the mayor. Our knowledge of what's gonna happen does help sometimes. And that's all I'm saying. I'm making no judgments at this time in that area.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay?
in that light, the pump station that would be designed here would therefore have to be designed with that, either with that intermunicipal agreement in mind, or if the intermunicipal agreement was not obtained, then it would be based upon just this development. That's the principal reason why the exact design of the pump station has not been done, because that agreement is still in the process of being worked on. But we've talked about this with DPW, and we've stated from day one, we're building it to their standards.
That's fine.
The flow is going to determine the design.
What we get involved at this point was that becomes a condition of approval that you have the intermunicipal agreement and that the flows are subject to the design requirements of the DPW.
Correct.
Okay? So it just means that we have to come up with a condition
That allows for that.
that allows for it. Okay? Or denies it. But, you know, denying is outside of our purview. All we have to do is I gotta make sure that if we do in fact have that, then we have to have that, that has to be a condition.
Well, the condition would be simply that the capacity of the sewer system that is on our property and downstream is sufficient for the project that we're proposing, which would be the industrial subdivision. And that if an intermunicipal agreement was worked out, that the capacity was also suitable for that. That would essentially...
Something to that effect. Okay? So we have to know what we're looking for are conditions that we have to do. They have to be part of this plan. Okay? If it's approved. Okay? Anything else, Mr.
I
Mayor?
do, if I may, Mr. Chairman. I will just make an observation which is clear to everybody. They apparently have said to you, we can show you this plan, but we're going to put other rights of ways and things on it afterwards, but we don't want you to know about it because they're illegal. But let's go on.
I disagree with that.
Let's go on. The fact of the matter is, the indication is you're going to approve the plan, which I understand. I'm going to refer you to the Copeland page letter and ask you to do one of two things. And I did submit the last time we were here, and I'm not sure you got a copy of the presentation, and I'm not going to go back through the whole thing, except to tell you that, as everybody would obviously know, Route 12, if you're going to throw all these people from this development down that cul-de-sac up to that road, you created a danger. And the danger is, you've got 100, you've got 150, 175 people, you've got school kids. And by the way, I should have known this. In Sterling, this came up, and it was that the school buses, will go in and pick up the kids. They won't go in. They don't go on private property, and this development will be private. So the kids will either come out to the cul-de-sac, or the kids will be out on Route 12, all of them waiting for the school bus in the morning, if the school bus will come pick them up anyway. But these are all problems they take care of later, apparently. But anyway, the specific concerns I have, it doesn't show on this plan, but someplace on the plan, halfway up that cul-de-sac, is an opening, so that and I don't know if it's on that plan, so that the people can get in and out of the Sterling development out into the road. I would ask you, as Copeland and Page, I believe, has indicated, let them have their development in Leominster. That's what they want. Don't know if the industrial will work. They say they're going to do it. Let them have it. You can put a restriction, as I understand it, that this can only be used as access to the plan in front, to the industrial land on the plan. And the other thing I think you could do is, my client kept telling me this, and I never brought it up before. I think Copeland and Page said you can make them move the road, but you can do something else. And it's, on the plan, it shows trees. And I'm sure there won't be any trees where this opening is, but you could require them to put some kind of a restraint. Some kind of a restraint a fence, a wall, whatever it is, to prevent access from that Sterling property into the Leominster property. Because otherwise, we create a monster. There's two minor points. One of them is, and I'm not sure they have asked for some waivers. Not an expert, and the waivers are all out by the road, where it comes on 12. They've asked because...
They haven't come to us with, we don't have the waivers yet.
Okay.
Oh, no, you have.
Yes.
So do we? Yeah, we do.
Yeah, they're around someplace.
Okay.
And they asked, they've got a little space to get out on Route 12, so they have to reduce some of their requirements. I don't know if they create more of a danger. I think they do, but I'm a layman when it comes to that. But I am here representing Mr. G. Bracco, who, as I understand from what I've been told, has a very narrow lot to begin with. They will start out at the roadway 7 feet and taper it down in front of his property to create a third lane. I was assured that it's not a taking, it's all within the highway, that they will be doing this, and my report was, yeah, it's 7 feet, I presume, of grassed area now that he thinks he owns, he won't own when they're done. But he has, and I don't know if it shows on this plan, there is a small piece of land, I think owned by your people at this time, that he won, and Mr. Hannigan would say none of us were involved in that he won the use of by adverse possession in the land court. And they intend to convey that to him. That's an exit from his lot. And so the exit from his lot and the exit from the roadway are going to be side by side. So when the truck comes out and turns left, someone's coming out of his place to turn right, bang. I would ask you to, can I finish please, Mr. Hannigan?
Absolutely.
I would ask you to put a restriction or something in there relative to the fact that they cannot, in developing this, interfere with that piece of property and his use of it as a means of ingress and egress. Because I can't tell, with the curvings, with everything else, I can't tell what they're going to do. And so I would only ask you to put some kind of a restriction in there that they cannot interfere with his use of that piece of property. And in addition, just to repeat it, I would ask you to seriously consider restricting in some language the use of this roadway as access to the Sterling property. They don't want to mention it in front of you. You should act on what you've got, and you should make sure that they don't. Thank you, and I'm sorry.
Thank you. No, that's fine. Yes, sir.
Mike Padula, Sterling Planning Board.
Please stand.
To Mr. Kerrigan's question about what is the zoning problem, I assume you all have the complemented page thing. On the second page, third paragraph down, it mentions it in that paragraph as far as they really don't think it's a zoning problem, a violation, but then when they get further in, seeing that you know about everything, it could be a zoning violation. Yes, you have to read that in decipher, but I think that's what Mr. Bowen's talking to.
Okay, thank you.
That's as long as the roadway remains private. Which road is that? Which roadway are they talking about?
The roadway that the proposed, the cul-de-sac.
The cul-de-sac.
So, in other words, this industrial subdivision roadway would have to be an accepted public way.
That's correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I
Yes,
just
Mr.
comment on that?
Bowman.
That's as far as I understand the letter and read it, that's as far as the zoning violation. I believe, and I would have to read the letter again, I believe you can still restrict its use, or put some kind of a restriction in there that doesn't allow him to access the Sterling property from that road. And I would have to reread it to be sure of that.
As I understand the letter, and it was, the road stays as it is, and it looks like it's right on the Sterling line. As long as it is industrial, it's not allowed. The zoning is quite clear, and there are a number of court cases that you cannot go from a more restricted to a less restrictive. In this case, is we do not allow residential and industrial, so therefore it is more restrictive. That's as long as it's an industrial road. If we approve this subdivision, if the road is built, if the City of Leominster City Council approves the road as a public way, it's no longer an industrial road. At that point, it's possible to access without making any changes. The alternatives are, as previously suggested, if the road is moved and there's a space, if a structure of some type is required to be built and maintained as part of the overall subdivision, then that would essentially block movement of the traffic from that road into Sterling. So those, as I read it in a paraphrasing, is what I understand are our options.
I would, well, the only thing, and I'm not sure, maybe you said, you do not believe that at this stage you could restrict its use to that industrial subdivision only?
I didn't say that.
If it became a public way?
At this point, without doing anything, we could in fact, if we just took it on face value and accept this as an industrial subdivision, at that point, it's not allowed, without any, if we choose, and the planning board, we're gonna have to debate this, so I can't put any words in their mouth, okay? If we choose, and the members decide that they wanna put a restriction on it, they can do that. And whether it's a public way or not, after, is I don't believe that restriction can be lifted. So, or, as it is in the Copeland Page letter, if some kind of a barrier or a structure was built along that line that could not be removed, then that same case would be all true. So there are a number of issues that play into this, okay? All I'm saying is that's, without trying to make any judgment, I'm just trying to clarify what I understand of what the letter does. Okay? Do I have anyone else that wishes? Yes,
Yes,
Councilor.
hello, my name is Peter Vaso. I represent Jim Whitney, and I appear here tonight on his behalf. I have been attending the meetings, obviously, the meetings we had prior. At the March meeting, when this matter was discussed in the public hearing, the testimony, one of the primary concerns that Attorney Bowen raised was that the planning board couldn't approve the plan because it was illegal. I think the letter from Attorney Judy Cutler adequately addresses the point of the planning board. So my point is that as it stands right now, there is not a zoning violation because nothing has been approved in the town of Sterling. So there's no use yet. I don't think that that is the sole issue, but I think to the applicant's credit, this site in its entirety was looked at before, potential developments were raised. And it was asked of me, well, why didn't you just submit the plan and not say anything about Sterling? I don't think that that would have been the correct way to proceed. And with all due respect to Attorney Bowen, he does take the liberty to make some comments, and we go back and forth between stuff that's been stated to different town boards in the town of Sterling and different things that have been stated to representatives of the city of Leominster. We haven't failed to mention the access. We haven't failed to mention to either the town of Sterling, the city of Leominster, Department of Housing, that our intention is to develop some industrial land in Leominster and hopefully develop some residential land in the town of Sterling. Because if you look at the history of the site, and you understand that there have been previous submissions to the town of Sterling for this residential area, which have been denied. There have been previous plans submitted to the city of Leominster for that industrial land, most recently by Waste Management, which was approved by the city of Leominster, but not approved in the town of Sterling. So, the one thing that we heard from the city of Leominster was, we need our industrial land, and we want to keep it industrial land. And what we're trying to do, and this is a delicate issue because you're dealing with two different communities who have differing interests. Depending on how you want to view it, if you bring all of those interests in, it's going to cloud what's really taking place here. Last year when we submitted the preliminary plan, a former member of the board looked at me and said, "Why are you submitting this?" And I said, "Well, we can't go anywhere until we start the process and we have some standing before the planning board in Leominster and the zoning board in Sterling." The preliminary plan was approved. At that time, it was clearly stated that the intention for Leominster was industrial use, the intention for Sterling.
I want to stop you there. At that time, it was not clearly stated.
Well, no,
It was only after I got a phone call from Mr. Giambrocco that told me that there was a plan for and that's how I found out.
in all due respect, I disagree, because we have all the correspondence that's gone back and forth.
Okay, but that's, at this point,
Important, but it's not important.
that's correct.
Okay.
I'm just trying to,
To speak directly to Attorney Bowen's concerns, I disagree. I think if you read the letter from Attorney Cutler, she states that there isn't a zoning violation, but you have adequate information to be concerned that there's a potential for a zoning violation, okay? So how does she go about it? She says you can restrict it, as you talked about earlier, or there's a couple of different ways you can look at this, okay? Reserve strip, waiver request, negotiate with the developer, or if you don't agree to any of that, at the very end she says, make sure, that you can have some reservations to maybe increase the requirements for this road. Now, at some point, I think we need to look at the proposal as it's submitted, this subdivision plan, with the waiver request. Okay, and I think that's what this board needs to focus on. If you want to make the zoning issue the predominant issue, then I guess we would have to discuss whether or not we need for the road to remain private, whether or not we will be complying with Leominster zoning ordinance, and if we can somehow impose restrictions because of the waiver requests. The waiver requests are essentially 4 or 5. And I think if you look at what they are, when this...
excuse me, Andy, do we have the drawings for this?
A little bit of history about this piece of property. This area here, if you were to draw an imaginary line from Leominster this way, which was sort of parallel with Route 12, way back in the 1910, 1920, this used to be the old railroad lane that ran along Route 12. When it was abandoned, for some reason, the town of Sterling ended up getting this strip back from the railroad. The majority of the land was in Sterling, which now comprises Mr. Giambrocco's piece, and the remainder of it was this small section here in Leominster. When the land was conveyed to Mr. Giambrocco and his parents, I believe it was his parents, there was actually 3 landowners, Giambrocco, and Mr. Drenova. And Mr. Drenova owned all of the land in the back. So that when the town of Sterling sold this piece out, they made a reservation in the deeds that there would always be, access over the strip for the land in the back, because they did not want to landlock the piece, obviously. This roadway, as it's proposed, when we submitted the preliminary plan to approve, we had to go to Mass Housing for a curb cut. A lot of the waivers that are before the board all geared to the fact of the limited frontage and the way Mass Highway has provided input on how to bring the road in from Route 12 properly to serve the industrial lots and to serve the residential lots. So it has to do with the turning radius, which I think Mr. Hannigan and the city's engineers have addressed and reviewed. It has to do with the requirement for the pavement. The Leominster subdivision regulations for an industrial road require a 60-foot wide right-of-way, which exists here. Ironically, in the town of Sterling, and I think they can correct me if I'm wrong, it's also a 60-foot wide right-of-way for an industrial road, or a collector street, beginning with collector street. The paved area requirement in the city of Leominster is 40 feet. In the town of Sterling, it's 30 feet. We have 36 feet proposed on this roadway. Now, I guess what this planning board really needs to consider is the road being built so that it can address the concerns to adequately serve the industrial lots and the residential lots. If you read Attorney Cutler's letter, what she's suggesting is if you want to approve the plan, you might want to reserve the right to maybe somehow make the right-of-way wider or make the paved area wider. But if you look at the traffic impact study that's been done, a lot of the issues that were raised have been addressed. And I think everybody wanted to have an opportunity to review that traffic impact study, which was provided to the board. So it's very difficult because while we don't want to mix the issues, I think you have to be concerned with what are the mutual issues. We want to use the land in Sterling as residential land. We want to use the land in Leominster as industrial. I think that should be the primary purpose. I think if you view it that way, if you look at the subdivision as it's proposed, and you look at the waivers we're requesting, I think you can approve the plan, I think you can approve the waivers, and I think in so doing, we will have adequately addressed concerns that were raised by the city of Leominster, and we will be in a position to address the concerns that we anticipate in the town of Sterling. I think we're making more of it if we try to put the planning board in Leominster in a position to somehow approve a plan and prevent something from happening in Sterling that we just haven't had an opportunity to discuss with the town, and we're transferring a Sterling issue to the Leominster Planning Board. We should probably not do that. We have a ways to go in the town of Sterling. I think we need to focus on what's before the planning board, based on the plan as it's submitted with the waiver requests. I think if you do that, I think we will be able to address keeping industrial land industrial and keeping residential land residential, both throughout the city of Leominster, go to the town of Sterling. There are several roads that exist in both communities where there's business or industrial use on one side and there's residential use on the other. And those roads, as built, compared to the way this road is built, I think this road can adequately address both areas. And that's the way we've been told to look at it, that's the way it's been reviewed, discussed, and that's how it's being presented to this board.
Thank you.
I just have one comment, Bob.
Yes, sir.
Sterling Planning Board. We still only have one egress in this property. They're saying they're going to develop a second entrance, but it's going to enter a driveway that they're proposing. And if something happens in the industrial section of the road to block the road, 128 homes are still trapped in the 128 home complex. The way they're designing the second is they're going to try to go through a driveway that they propose and go to the third piece of land. So that does nothing for anybody to escape should there be an emergency. What emergency? Well, you know.
That was the question, that was the point of my questions earlier, to whether that's a driveway or a road. Okay? I mean, and we have a lot of subdivisions that only have 28-foot roads. Okay, so we're only talking, and then we have a lot of small lots, the roads in the city, they're as little as 18. So the older ones, the old cart paths, just sort of got paved over, and I'm sure you've got a few of those also.
We do. So, but you are mixing trailer truck and...
What I'm saying is, so that's why I'm trying to get a different, that's why the definition, oh yeah, we're just putting a driveway on, well, which they have a right to do, but it's 24 feet, and you still have to have two-way traffic on that driveway. So, and that's, if it's that, that's fine, but we'll have to, I want to delineate that it is a driveway, and maybe be further on.
But that,
You know, but I'm not looking at, you're bringing up issues on Sterling, okay? What I'm trying to do is look at Leominster, okay? I don't disagree that the two are intertwined. And at the same time, I'm trying to, as a subdivision, let's say hypothetically that there was no plans for Sterling at all at this time, the subdivision would probably fly through pretty easily. Okay? And you'd have to agree with that. That was on your side of the town, and there wasn't anything bordering the property, we probably would have had a second hearing. So, and we've had a number of our own members that have been to the Sterling ZBA meetings, so we're aware of what's going on there also. So we can look at both of those, and we're trying to, to look at that. So what I'm trying, at this point, I'm saying, yes, I agree with your information. I am concerned with this, the future growth of this, and how this would impact you, but I have to do it within the confines of an industrial development in Leominster. Okay? And if we can do something, on the other hand, that's up to the board members later on. Okay?
Appreciate that.
But in fact, you have Coleman's letter to assistance and come into the...
Not disagree. I'm saying I have, what I said was, if there was nothing going on in Sterling at this time, this thing would probably fly through.
Would have gone through the first night without anyone getting up because it wasn't mentioned.
Probably. Okay? So, I'm just... Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I think we might need, I just want to bring one thing to the board's attention. In Attorney Cutler's letter, she did speak about some of the requirements in the regulations for industrial subdivision. I think one of the things that we do not have in there as a waiver request is the issue about dealing with looping streets and things of that nature.
I think you do.
Do we? Okay.
That was going to be my question.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make sure we clarify that for the board.
yeah, we got that letter faxed to us as well, and what we did was we just updated the most recent set of plans to address some of Mass Highway's most recent comments, as well as to add the fifth waiver, which is really up to the board of whether we actually really need that or not, because it does use the word should. It should be avoided, and since we meet the cul-de-sac length requirements of 500 feet or less,
Okay.
it's up to the board, but we figured we'd add it, and if the board decides we don't need the waiver, fine. If they decide we do, then we just take care of that.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Ian, do you have the subdivision control? Which is not part of it? Oh, thanks, Ian. No, I didn't mean to make you do that. Yeah, well, he's already gotten up, so thanks, Mike.
Okay. Do I have anyone else that wishes to speak on this matter? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and planning board members. I'm here to speak in favor
Please
of
identify yourself, sir.
NJ Latanzio, 45 Tisdale Street.
Thank you very much.
Leominster.
Thank you.
I'm in favor that Leominster continue to consider the importance and value of industrial land for the future. Also, in noting the 3 parcels of land that could be built for industrial use, it appears to me that it probably would be the highest and best use and the tax base for the city of Leominster. As you know, we've been at Jitech Industrial Park for 35 years and have gone out nationwide looking for industry to locate in Leominster, and good paying wages and solid buildings, and it worked out very well for us, and that the acreage now there that we first started off with on 96 acres is now complete. It is wall to wall, and there is no other available industrial land in Jitech Park. Also, if we're looking into the future, and this is strictly theory or what, the auto salvage yard that appears on Central Street now, that in the future, that land is also zoned industrial, and if you're speculating ahead and you feel for the highest and best use of that salvage yard, it's not too far away that you will see that salvage yard become another industrial land available to attract industry toward the area. Also, I made a trip many times and timed it, from Jitech Road to Worcester, since the highway has been built, takes anywhere between 15 and 20 minutes. And if you want to leave from Jitech Road to Fitchburg, it takes 20 to 25 minutes. So that we know in the future that this part of Leominster will be attracting as many, probably more, from the south part of Leominster and into Worcester. Looking there again in the future, that once this auto salvage yard becomes available for industry, that will complete Leominster's industrial from Willard Street heading south all the way right to the Sterling line. That's why I'm here to speak in favor that this industrial 3 parcels of land should be considered reserving and holding for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Road. Sterling does have a mix of industrial and commercial, industrial and residential. The problem is, it's not coming out of a cul-de-sac. It's on one side of the road, it's on one side and the residential on the other, so you don't get the mix as you're going to in here. And Mr. Latanzio is correct about ABC getting bigger and with industrial and everything else, that's fine, but you're going to have that many more problems with cars coming out of that. And we have no problem with the industrial. I'd like to have more industry in Sterling also for the tax base. But to mix these two so close together, Sterling just isn't happy with it.
Thank you.
If I could just make one follow-up point.
Okay.
And I'm glad that Mr. Padula made that statement, because I think there is an avenue, and there is a process that we have to follow in the town of Sterling, where if there are concerns that the town of Sterling has, we have to address them, and if they don't feel we address them in the appropriate way, they have the option to deny the plan. So please remember that. I think the Leominster Planning Board should focus on what the Leominster issues are, not what the Sterling issues and concerns are, although they have been brought to everybody's attention. But also, I think what I'd like to point out is that Mr. Scully is here tonight. He is the traffic consultant that has performed the traffic impact statement for both the industrial project and the residential project. And I know that it was asked of us the last time.
Do any of the members have, Mr. Scully is here. Do any members have any questions of Mr. Scully as far as traffic?
I just have a question for Mr. Hannigan and Mr. Campabasso. Was the planning board provided with any documentation from Mass Highway? Because a lot of your waivers are based upon their recommendation. Do we have that in our record?
No, we've submitted the application to Mass Highway. They've now sent us a copy of their comments back, and we're in the process of addressing them. If you notice, the date in this plan is yesterday's date, and I actually was on the phone with Mass Highway for quite a bit, talking about different additional things that they wanted on the plan that to approve the curb cut. They're very minor in nature. They were providing offset distances from the center line, and the stationing information at the beginning and ending of curbing, information regarding the cross-section of the pavement that we're going to be putting in within the widening area. And while I'm talking about that, what I wanted to say about the showed more here about the curb radius being 25 feet. The pavement is at that 25-foot radius, and the pavement that continues. Originally, Mass Highway had talked about putting a taper right in this area here. And then when they found out about the driveways that Mrs. Bowen alluded to along Mr. Gianbrocco's property, what they saw as that would be a potential problem of having the vehicle turn there and drive along the frontage of the driveway right up against the driveway. What Mr. Scully came up with as a solution to that was to actually complete the turn and have the pavement section be widened down to this point here to get beyond the four driveway cuts that Mr. Gianbrocco has in front, and then provide the 190-foot taper. 190-foot taper is, I guess, a common thing that they utilize for these type of entrances. What we've done, if you notice though, is we are providing a 30-foot wide painted sign line radius, which will guide most of the traffic out into the main line of traffic. The purpose of doing that was to meet the curb line requirement because we can't extend the curb line beyond the extension of the property line to the center line. So from this point right here, which is the corner of our property line, we cannot extend our curb line beyond that point as you go perpendicular to the center. So it's a restriction that Mass Highway places on us, which requires a 25-foot curb radius here, and at the same time allows the 30-foot turning radius, which is what they're trying to accomplish. Okay? So that's the reason why we need, one of the reasons why we need the waiver there is because of that requirement by Mass Highway. The reason that we need it on the other end is because of the limitation of the availability for easement from New England Power. We are able to maintain the 30-foot curb radius on there. Once again, that does go into a 190-foot pavement taper, which then rejoins the existing edge of pavement of Route 12. So all those improvements were after significant discussions with Mass Highway and talking to them about both the industrial project and the residential project that we're proposing to have work as a curb cut access permit at this location.
Question I have is, if we have to make that, right now, that's with a 36-foot wide road.
Correct.
Okay. What happens if it goes to 40 feet?
If it goes to 40 feet, what we'd end up having to do would be, we would make this 40 feet, we would make this curb radius down to 20, essentially. And the painted radius would still stay at 30. So one waiver ties to the other. To try to get the maximum curb radius, we went to 36. We go to 40 feet in the pavement width, then this curb radius will become 20, but once again, we still provide a painted line, the solid white sideline would in fact be at that point a 30-foot radius.
So there's no curving there?
Right, in the 30-foot line?
Right.
No.
So that's where the driveway is?
The driveway is right here. The granite ends right there.
Okay.
Okay? And it would end right there with the 20-foot radius as well. So
Okay.
Just pull it over 5 more feet.
And then there's no, and that's his driveway.
Right, he has,
So his driveway is actually on the radius?
no. No, his driveway is right here, coming onto Route 12, which is just beyond the radius.
Okay.
Okay? He has one driveway in this location, one driveway...
I thought his driveway was in that diamond, that triangular sliver.
Right here?
The one, no, the one out further. I'm looking at,
That one right here.
This
That
up here?
one?
right.
No, he's not up here, no. His driveway is right in here, and he has...
That's what I meant, right there. You had me down
That's the
on the
same
other side.
location. That's the same, this is the blow up of this. It's the same location.
Okay.
Right here is right here, same exact thing.
Okay.
So,
This is a 20 scale version of this area.
Yeah, I was, okay.
Okay. Now, the
Go ahead,
remaining
yeah.
driveways are 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's another driveway of the next house up here, which is right in this location here. The pavement taper actually meets up with the existing gutter line or edge of pavement right in front of that driveway. As part of this, we would be replacing the bituminous berm that goes along there, this existing bituminous curbing. We'd be replacing that along the layout and providing a taper of the berm at the driveway openings, and then we'll be paving the aprons up to the right-of-way line. And that's what Mass Highway, one of the things they added.
And the berms you're gonna put in, the granite,
The berms on the street are actually bituminous curbing, okay? Mass Highway actually, if it wasn't a Leominster requirement for this to be granite, we could actually do this as bituminous berm on Mass Highway. They go with what's there or up or better. Leominster's requirement is granite, we're showing it as granite.
okay.
so, may I, Jim?
Go ahead.
So, you're seeking, the 5 waivers that you're seeking are the property lines at street intersections rounded to a radius of 25 feet, we require 50, a minimum
No,
of 50.
no. The property line, there's a difference between the property line radius and the curb line radius.
Okay, I see
The
what you're
property
saying
line
already.
radius,
Yeah, I know what you're
because
saying.
of the fact that we only own from here to here, okay? We don't have the ability to place those property line radiuses out to the street.
Radii.
Good point. Yeah. Obviously, I'm not an English major.
Okay, I found that
So
one.
that's that one.
All right, and so,
second
but
one-
I guess my question is that, as you put, because you add to that, your waiver request, it's typed in, as discussed with Mass Highway, is that your request and then Mass Highway approved it, or is that what Mass Highway is approving?
Well, Mass Highway, this part here, this first radius really has nothing to do with Mass Highway. Okay, that actually shouldn't really, that doesn't matter. Mass Highway does know that we're asking for a property line radius at that location.
Okay.
But they don't have any control over that.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, okay, that answers my question. Then the second one is, the roadway is to coincide with the center line or right-of-way?
Correct.
Okay,
And that's also been discussed with Mass Highway, but more importantly, part of the reason for that, if you look at the center line of the roadway,
Yeah.
it's right here.
yeah,
Okay, the center line of the pavement is shifted this way slightly. That's one, from Mass Highway's perspective, to provide that 25-foot curb radius to the point where we're able to keep it in front of our, what's known as curb frontage, as they put it. And the other part of it is we have a restriction on the other side, which New England Power is placing on us to place bollards along this location to protect their poles, and they've approved that as the form at that location.
okay. Then the third one is the travel way width of 40
Right.
feet,
The
you're
original waiver
proposing
that
36.
the original waiver that we requested was 34 feet. In discussion with both Bill Scully, our consultant, and through the review process in the town of Sterling, we provided, this was formerly a 14-foot lane on this side of the island and an 18-foot lane on this side. What we did was we narrowed up the island slightly and made this 16 and 17. The 17-foot lane is required on this side in order to allow the trucks to move over to this side of the road and make the turn without going into the northbound lane of Route 12. The width on this side is required to allow the trucks to turn in this location here from the northbound lane into the site, heading southbound on this side, once again into here. Okay, so we needed a wider pavement width to accomplish that turning movement for trucks. Obviously, cars have a smaller turning radius, and it shouldn't be a problem.
Then
Okay?
Then the fourth one is this is the one I was confusing with the first one, the curb radii to be not less than 50 feet, you're proposing
30 on the
Okay.
north side, 25 on the south
That's
side,
right.
the reason stated as discussed with Mass Highway.
Okay, and then
And they're okay with this right now. I will also note that what we're doing on this landscaped island, it's going to have, instead of having a vertical curve, which is typically a 6 or 7 inch reveal, it's going to have a 9 inch reveal. And the consultant has discussed with us regarding the traffic, that the purpose of that would be so that if there was a vehicle that came around, it wouldn't be able to jump the curb, came around too fast, it would prevent the traffic from going from one side to the other. And we would just landscape that island. I did talk to Mr. Roseberry about this, and he's also fine with that.
And then the final one is the looping the streets.
Correct, and that one was just brought up, and as I stated, I'm not sure.
If it should
should.
means may or shall.
Correct.
Okay.
So we put it in there, we're providing that to the board, and if you feel we need to, to me, we're erring on the side of caution and make sure that we actually have the waivers.
Doesn't have all the waivers on it. Andy, this plan doesn't have all the waivers on it.
That's the one that we had in there.
I think they're on the site.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
can I just ask, and he might have said it, traffic coming from Worcester to Leominster, is there anything being done on the other side of the road to widen it, to make a left-hand turn?
no.
You mean a left turn, queuing, waiting lane?
Yeah, waiting lane to
And then
turn
a
left.
straight through lane?
On 12 itself.
Good
You're
idea.
talking about 12 itself.
Yeah.
They're right here. They're right here, John. Those are his wipers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's,
I didn't, I'm listening, I didn't get to read it. Okay.
You're referring to in the Sterling
Yeah, from Sterling coming,
taking a left.
I don't like being handed stuff in the middle of the meeting. I'm trying to read and run the meeting at the same time. Makes it very difficult.
You don't like to be interrupted when you try to do it?
Yeah, hey, I have time, chance, chewing gum and walking, I have problems with sometimes. Mr. Scully, do you have anything that you want to add to this as a traffic consultant for the project?
I assume you've gotten the traffic report that was done. We looked at both the industrial office development as well as the residential. Answering the last question that was raised with respect to a turn lane on Route 12, we didn't recommend one based on the volume that would be projected to be turning left and the little delay that they would incur. It was reviewed with Mass Highway and they agreed not to request a turn lane on Route 12 at that location. And there is room, there's 12-foot lane in addition to a 6 to 8-foot shoulder out in that area, so there is room if a vehicle was.
How wide is Route 12 at that point?
It's about 36 to 38 feet wide, not counting the additional width that we're adding because of the tape. I guess I would say that we've worked with Mass Highway. Mr. Hannigan went through pretty much the process. We provided some input to the site design. We met with Mass Highway, reviewed different ways of dealing with the issues, primarily accommodating any potentially large turning vehicles at the drive, taking into account the constraint of frontage and the property line and the utility easement area that we were faced with. And that's where we came up with the approach of a reduced radius by the taper, which was acceptable from the department. I guess I would just add a couple things on, there's been a lot of comments about the analysis and, or the creation of a safety problem, and in none of our analysis have we identified that. We've projected traffic for both. In one respect, they sort of complement each other. The industrial, for example, in the morning, or the office, most of that traffic will be inbound, where the residential will be outbound, and vice versa in the afternoon. So it ends up, ultimately, if you read the report, somewhat balanced flows. The geometry is certainly controlled by the limits out there. We're having a single lane in and out, but wide enough paved area to accommodate all vehicles. The level of service analysis showed a level of service C exiting during both peak hours. We've got about 8,000 cars on Route 12 right now out in this area, which isn't overly high. The difference between the no-build and the build. The no-build would be, the way we've assessed it in this particular report, was the industrial and office use. And that being in the no-build, and then the future build, adding in the residential from Sterling. And there's a difference of about 2 to 3 seconds of delay going from the no-build to the build. Looking out 5 years into the future, taking into account Crown Point Estates, other developments off Willis Street. You know, we've added in an awful lot of growth that we all are quite familiar with. So we end up with a very good level of service, very little delay. Sight distances are very good. Stopping sight distance exceeds 55, 60 miles an hour out there, and we saw 85th percentile speeds of between 45 and 50. So we meet the safety criteria. We don't feel we're creating any safety hazard out there. If you look at GITEC, and I haven't heard of any particular problem in the years I've been up here working on various studies, but looking at the data, the GITEC driver Route 12 is averaging between 1 and 2 accidents per year. And given the volume, that's a very low incident to be reported. And if you look at the report, the volumes currently coming out of the GITEC drive at Route 12 far exceed what we project to be the total volume coming out of this particular road. So in answer to a lot of the comments being made that we're creating a safety hazard, I think we've even got proof in our study that we shouldn't be, we don't anticipate creating any safety problem. We've designed it adequately. We've met Mass Highways requirements. We've got the sight distances. And operationally, there's not a problem entering or exiting the drive under conditions of both developments.
Okay, thank you.
On that.
Go ahead.
I always wonder how you come up with all of these numbers. And is it based on the average driver, or what do you do to figure all these times and waiting times and turning and?
Well,
Is it the average driver?
that is, no, it's really not
The above average driver couldn't really speed things up too much, but the below average driver could really slow things down.
It's actually, probably most of the models, most of the models are probably based on what's called critical gaps out in this area. And that critical gap is the amount of time someone leaving the side street feels, well, the critical one is about half of them leave before, half of them.
Studies of actual
And
traffic
based on
flow.
Hundreds of studies of traffic flow.
Actual flow.
Throughout the country, throughout this region. And you just start measuring gaps and when people will tend to exit a side street, how big that gap is. And that starts to become the basis of all the analysis for unsignalized intersections such as this. It becomes the measure ultimately of what type of capacity you can get out there, but more
Your number
importantly,
could be expected result, but it could vary a little.
it could vary a little bit. I would say based on my experience that we're on the more conservative end of analysis. What you tend to find with the unsignalized analysis is we might say someone averages 20 seconds or wants to wait for a 6 or 7 second gap on the street. And if you see yourself coming up to a stop sign, you tend to, if you've got a 4 to 5 second gap, you tend to make that move. So I would say we're on the more conservative end.
Okay, thank you.
Sometimes you're going to shut me up, but I apologize. I have two questions, Mr. Chairman. One, did his report include any review of accidents, not only at GITEC, but in the area where we are? That's the first question, because I'm both in Sterling and in Leominster, there have been serious accidents. The second one is an issue that was raised when I read through the file by two of your town officials, and that was is the site going in both directions sufficient for this rate? I only know Mr. Hannigan's answer was, you have 600 feet in each direction. I don't know whether that's adequate. If this is a 45-mile-an-hour speed zone, and you know what that means, that the lowest speed people travel is probably 55 going through there. I went to St. Bernard's High, so I can't do the math on the next comment that I'm going to make, which is, how long does it take a vehicle to travel 600 feet and, in 600 feet? And I came up with a second. Well, I lied. It's really closer to probably 7 or 8 seconds. And when you go down to 45 speed limit, it might go up to 12 or 13 seconds. And how long does it take a big truck to turn out of this new roadway that we're putting down?
66 feet per second, does that sound about right?
Well, I also at the St. Bernard's High School, so
Carol, will you throw me
I don't know, I wasn't first in my class.
I wasn't either.
Boy, this high math is really getting to me.
let's let Mrs. Scully,
All right,
Okay, we'll let the expert answer that.
The traffic analysis focused on intersections, one on the north and south of the side of the project, as a measure of where we can start to see what impact the project would have on the different locations. And that included looking at the Jitech Drive on the north, and we looked at Pratt's Junction down in Sterling on the south. It gets fairly difficult to identify accidents reported not at an intersection, because many of them might just say Route 12, not a specific location. However, at those two intersections, the average number of accidents reported for a 3-year period are fairly low. Now, I know at Pratt's Junction and Sterling, there's other issues, yet the historical accident figures are coming in fairly small. The sight distance, we measured speeds out there. Speeds, we measured 85th percentile speeds of 48, 49 miles an hour on the north side of the site drive. And the speed limit is 45 miles an hour, 45. Average speeds were around 45. We measured, and we stopped measuring at 550 feet, which we need 425 feet at 425 we need for 50 mile an hour stop for sight distance, and we stopped measuring at 550. So, from the visibility, we've clearly got the distance and the ability to stop.
So what you're saying is you need 425 at 50?
At 425 at 50 miles an hour, we have
425 at 50. And what do you have?
550 at least.
You have 550.
Correct. So we've got more than enough at a very high speed. The issue on trucks, they are taken into account. First of all, they're higher up, and I'm not saying that there's going to be a lot of trucks or a small number of trucks in this particular site. The site is, it's going to, we have 74,000 square feet of space. So that by itself starts to say, potentially it's not a great number of large trucks going in and out of there. But the trucks are higher, so they're visible from further away, and the driver is actually, all these measurements are taken by a private vehicle, small car, driver height of 4¼ feet high. A truck driver is going to be 6 to 7 feet high in a cab, so even they have a greater visibility and distance available to make their decision. So all the sight distance criteria that's defined by the design manuals tend to take all of that into account, yet are geared towards defining the criteria for the private vehicle, the lower size of visibility. I don't think there was any other particular question. I think I answered them all.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
One quick question. Mike Lewis, Sterling Planning Board. Now, after this road is done and you have the 3 lots there, is this a possibility with your zoning or whatever that waste management could go back in there and that whole area could be all trucks? So that all the trucks would be coming in and out of there? I mean, he says he doesn't know how many
I think
trucks.
that would require, you're saying waste management, it could be,
Trucking company.
no, I mean, it can't be a trucking company.
You can't?
Our zoning does not allow warehousing in a trucking company.
And the reason why I was saying
Okay.
it could be a small number is that, you know, we made some assumptions for office and R&D, and in many cases, you have some of the uses in there with very small, you know, shipping of goods in and out, other than the small FedEx type of.
Just for your information, our zoning, the only warehousing that's allowed in Leominster is if you are manufacturing in Leominster.
Okay.
So nobody could come in to warehouse product or have a big distribution center where you had hundreds of trucks coming in and out.
Okay,
That's not allowed.
okay, I didn't know, I mean, because waste management, you said earlier.
Well,
they
waste
were-
management would be another issue, because then you get it, that would probably be a transfer station, and that would require a special permit from the city council,
Okay.
and that's outside of our,
Okay, all right.
okay?
Only comment,
But now, what is to get me into trouble now? Let's see.
only comment that I think his figure was 86%, and you have the 425, and you have 525. What about the 13% that are going above the 55? The other one is, too bad you didn't have the advantage of the Sterling consultant's review of their report. But we don't
No,
have.
I don't have that. Okay.
Move to close the hearing.
Second.
I have a motion made and seconded to close the hearing. So hold a second, please. Do you have a pertinent comment, Mr. Hannigan?
Well, I just want to make sure that everyone knows that we're going to be doing fire flow testing in the next week or so, and
That will all be part of the conditions,
Okay.
that you will just condition that as fire flow test, that they have to be approved by the fire department,
And fire
and they meet their criteria. So that would be a condition of approval by the fire department. Okay, before you even apply for a building permit. Okay? I have a motion on the floor to close the hearing. And I have a second. Do I have any discussion on that? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. 7 o'clock hearing. We're only an hour late. Continued public hearing.
Thanks for coming.
And it's good to have the Sterling Planning Board here. Thank you, gentlemen.
Wish ours was only 2 numbers. Could be being you, Tom.
It's gonna be too late pretty soon.
Let's try to speed this thing up here. We're not going to get a poke here.
Okay, 7 o'clock, continued public hearing for Pioneer Park LLC, 24 Walnut Court, Leominster. Definitive subdivision for the development of an industrial subdivision of Pioneer Drive in Leominster.
I don't know if the building's.
That light turn on? The one right there.
There's a switch right here.
So that makes a big difference.
Hey,
It's all blocks
You know, those lights are on the wrong way. They're supposed to face down, not up.
turn them like that, it's not nice to me.
Was that the secret?
Okay, go ahead.
For the record, my name is Wesley Bliss. I'm from Whitman Bingham Associates. I'm here this evening to represent the Pioneer Park LLC. Mr. Luscotti is here this evening. He's the manager of Pioneer Park LLC. What we're proposing tonight is the same subdivision that was in front of you back, I think it was in 1998 or 99, that was submitted by Harrison Taylor. It was approved by the planning board, later rescinded due to other issues. Mr. Luscotti said the manager of Pioneer Park LLC was purchased this piece of property. So the proposal is the same thing that was in front of you probably 5, 6 years ago. To get you acquainted with, I guess, the location of the project. Here's the existing Pioneer Park. Right here, here's the existing pump station that was put in the last few years. Here is the existing Orchard Hill Park Drive, and also the existing Sky Meadow subdivision. What we're proposing here is to extend Pioneer Park a little less than 800 feet, about 700 feet approximately to the intersection with Orchard Hill Park. The first intention obviously is to tie Pioneer Park into the Orchard Hill Drive to create one loop system here. I know it was a recommendation of the town, obviously, to get that going, or the city to get that going, get the loop in there, obviously, emergency vehicles also with truck traffic in and out of this area. The intention obviously is to build the road up to Station 740 right away. Obviously, the bulb isn't needed right at this moment. I know there is a contractor already ready to get going out here to get this extension done. What we do show is we show some, just some conceptual buildings on there. Obviously, anything that's done off of this road will have to come in front of you for site plan review. So all we're really doing here is permitting this definitive subdivision. There was a couple A&R lots here that were taken out prior. I believe it was either 04 or 03 that was in front of the board at one time before with Harrison Taylor, and also Pioneer Park LLC was involved at the time. The sewer and gas and water are already in Pioneer, or already in this area here, and it was put in for Sky Meadow subdivision and also for Orchard Hill Park to service those two subdivisions. Drainage does need to be put in, obviously, to service the proposed development here. We do have a proposed detention basin in the rear here adjacent to the wetlands. It is designed to handle the entire development. What we did is obviously took a look ahead, kind of similar to what we did with Orchard Hill Park. Looked ahead and see what kind of impervious area we'd be looking at, a max build-out case to say, and propose this detention basin here. To say the subdivision has been in front of the board. We did get a comment letter from the DPW, just asking to clarify a few of the issues. I don't know if you want me to go over some of the issues that the DPW had. First issue we had was just with the sidewalk and the location of it. What we showed is we had it coming up to Orchard Hill Park, comes down. There are no sidewalks currently, to my best knowledge, within Pioneer Park. The only tie-in would be with Orchard Hill Park. The other thing with the sidewalk is we didn't really show any extension up here until we had a better feel of where the site drives would be coming out. It's going to be pretty tight in here, I guess, with the site drives, with the number of site drives that would be coming out in this bulb area, just by going at what we have conceptually laid out. Obviously, depending on what tenants end up coming in here, it could be a little different. But if the sidewalk can be extended, obviously, at that date, maybe, it could be extended once the bulb is done, once another, like the tenant is secured for this area up here.
But you are planning the sidewalk?
We are planning on a sidewalk up to this point. What Mr. Roseberry asked for was for the sidewalk to be extended halfway around the bulb. Like I said, you can see here, just in a conceptual standpoint, I guess, from the sites, we have a couple site drives coming in there. It really doesn't going to serve too much of a purpose for the sidewalk to be in that area.
Okay.
The next thing is just the street trees. There's no street trees shown on the original subdivision. It's pretty clear up there as it is now. Again, the tough thing in what Mr. Roseberry was asking for, it's kind of the subdivision regulations. They ask for street trees within the right-of-way. He's asking for street trees outside the right-of-way. We don't really have an issue with the street trees as long as they're within the right-of-way, because obviously at this point we don't know what's going to happen out there. We don't want to restrict use of any of the lots, what's on the lots. The next issue on his list, granite curbing. Obviously, we're going to follow the subdivision regulations with granite curbing at the intersections of roads, on the cul-de-sac, and at the catch basins. Just wasn't shown on the subdivision plans that we had submitted. And just to actually clarify something, the subdivision plans, like I said, are what was submitted prior, back, like I said, 99, I believe, is when it was submitted. There were a couple changes that were done within the drainage system here when these two A&R lots were taken. A couple manholes removed, drainage manholes. It was given to the city, I believe, at the time. The DPW had a chance to look at it. All it did was just change a couple locations of manholes to get it around the property lines. And then again, you just had a couple questions regarding the drainage board. And again, what it was is a lot of the old drainage boards, a couple of the drainage manhole numbers didn't coordinate and a couple of the links in match up with the drainage report. Like I said, when we changed these manholes here, I changed a couple of the links, didn't change any of the sizes. Like I said, just changed a couple of the manhole numbering system. So that's where his question was, and obviously we can take care of that with Mr. Roseberry. Show access to the detention basin, proposed easement here along drainage manhole 1 and 1A. There's no problem with showing that access. Obviously this area in the future will probably be paved anyways, so there'll be access around the building. So to continue that access out to the detention basin should be an issue. It's real flat in that area anyways. He's proposed the grading in there is probably a foot difference in elevation from beginning to end, so it really shouldn't be an issue of access up to that basin. He asked for a test pit within the detention basin here. That's actually what I handed out this evening. That's the only thing we did submit to you last time was the test pit information. We finally got out there the last couple of weeks to do the test pit within the location of the detention basin. Groundwater was at 2 feet, and so we show a 1 foot cut in the area of the detention basin, so it will be 1 foot above the groundwater elevation. So obviously the detention basin won't be filled with groundwater. Mr. Roseberry, just want to clarify, I guess, a subdrain issue. We do call for it on our drainage report for subdrain. We also show the detail on the plans. We just didn't show the subdrain within the plan view. We do intend to have a subdrain out here to better facilitate the drainage within the bottom of the basin. We don't want any stagnant water in the bottom of the basin. Obviously, we're going to have a subdrain with the stone trench. And obviously help with to facilitate the drainage in the basin. We asked for, and it was more, I think, what question is, should the easements be bounded with concrete bounds? It's actually, it would make it difficult in most of the areas because this here, some of the bounds would be in the middle of a parking lot. It would almost make it impossible to make the bounds actually visible more than anything. And I don't, it's not a requirement, it's subdivision regulation, so it's just a recommendation from Mr. Roseberry, but it's something that the client really doesn't foresee as any kind of benefit out here. Especially, like I said, a lot of the...
Granite bounds?
He was actually for concrete bounds for the easements, to delineate the changes, the direction of the easement. And then the last comment on the sheet 1 is he just asked for a bearing distance on the easements. What had happened is, like I said, there was an A&R plan done on this property showing the bearings and distances for these easements. We'll forward that plan along to Mr. Roseberry so you can see the bearings and distances. And that's actually already recorded, so there is a recorded plan with the bearings and distances for these easements. Then he asked for the, just make sure that my client knows that the Nepentese permit has to be filed for. It's already been filed for actually in this area. Obviously all the work that's been done out here with the sewer and water, so that's already been taken care of. And then just an issue, I guess, just make sure that I guess with the tying of Orchard Hill Park and this, that everything gets completed out here. Just want to make sure everything's done correctly as I could take his last issue. I haven't got any other reports from any other board members or any other boards. I think there was a letter from the Consol that they said that they approved it. We've actually already, like I said, we've been in front of the Conservation Commission. We were back in front of the planning board at the same time. We did have approvals on the original subdivision. Is there any questions from the board at this point that I can address?
I don't have any. Okay. I'll open this up to the audience. Do I have anyone that made comments, questions on this plan? Do I have any questions or comments on this plan? Anyone in opposition to this plan? Do I have it one more time? Does anybody have any opposition to this plan? Okay, any questions from board members? Okay. Do I have that motion? Do you have anything else to add after this?
Nope.
Okay.
Motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to close the hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carried.
Thank you.
7:30 hearing. Continue public information meetings for 375 Harvard Realty LLC. 6 Miriam Avenue, Leominster, Mass. Site plan for a new 80 by 80 expansion at 375 Harvard Street. At this point, I have received, I don't have my, get the packet right there. All the planning board members have received a relatively large packet of information, petitions, comments for this. Copies were made and mailed out to all, to everyone, okay, in their packets last week. Just so that everybody knows that everybody got those packets. Okay, this is a continued public hearing. Do we have any added information that you would like to bring forward as, from answers that came from the last meeting? Wesley, you're up there again for that one, huh?
I am up here for this. At the last meeting, we just went
Please identify yourself again for the
For the
record.
record, my name is Wesley Fliss. I'm from Whitman & Bingham Associates. Here representing 375 Harvard Street Realty LLC. The Bigelows are here this evening also. As I said, at the last meeting, we went over the description of the project located on Harvard Street here, White Street's in this area, and Ridgewood Drive's in this area. The main entrance to the building's here. Obviously, you can see the large existing building, the proposed 80-foot by 80-foot addition with the back entrance that off of White Street. There are minor additions to pavement in this area, and then also in this area here, some additional clearing of trees and just some grading here to accommodate the parking. The outstanding issues, from an engineering standpoint, I guess, was just dealing with Mr. Roseberry's comments from the DPW. I went over all the comments at the last meeting. I actually got a chance to sit down with Mr. Roseberry finally today. It was kind of tough to schedule. It's been a busy month since we've been here last. We finally got a chance to sit down with Mr. Roseberry. We had to do some more investigation for his request here. And obviously with the nicer weather, we finally got out there the last couple of weeks to do some more investigation. He just wanted us to take some investigation of some of the pipes further down the street, or further downstream from the wetlands here. Just want to verify some of the pipe sizes. He wasn't too familiar with some of the pipe sizes, and he just wanted to make sure some of the pipe sizes were adequate, enough actually to handle some of the existing flow here. He heard some issues with some wetlands and some budding properties and stuff like that. Since the last meeting also, we have been in front of the Conservation Commission. There's still some issues that have to be ironed out with the Conservation Commission, just to do with some of the delineation of the wetlands.
Have they changed the delineation?
Nope, actually the delineation in this area hasn't changed. It's just another area further up that there's a question about being an isolated wetland.
Where was that?
It's further up in this area, I believe, is what they're looking at.
Oh, okay.
And at the time when they walked the site, it was right after we got some rain, and so it was tough to tell. We actually had our botanist go out there, and he took a look at it. He deemed it not to be wetlands. This is after Matt Morrow, the agent for the Conservation Commission, out there and said it looks like wetlands, and so they're going to bring in a third party to verify that it's not a wetland or it is a wetland.
Well, that's conservation. I'll let you
Exactly,
know.
that's conservation. I guess to quickly go over just the discussion that I had with Mr. Roseberry today, just so everybody's up to speed. A couple things that he was looking for was the water service on the plan. We do show the water service. This is a 6-inch water service. It's actually what it is it's a 6-inch fire service that comes into the building, and near the end of it, it comes off with a domestic service, a 2-inch domestic service for the building. So what the expansion is intending to do is to tie in the existing plumbing within the building. The basin, he was just looking for a question about the emergency spillway on the basin. And what happens is on this spillway here in the larger storms, there's going to be a small amount of water that's going to be coming out of this spillway. Typically, we like to design, if we could, an emergency spillway by itself. But in the case of this area, we were kind of locked into a small area for a detention basin. So we're going to use part of this basin spillway, like I said, for a larger storm. And then, like I said, we explained that to him. Obviously, if there's an issue with this pipe, an emergency, it's still going to use the same spillway. It's still going to be directed in the same location out to the wetlands. But, you know, after we had spoken to Mr. Roseberry today, It's an 18-inch pipe we're proposing. Usually 18-inch pipe, you don't see too many issues with clogging. When you get down to like a 6-inch pipe, sometimes you do have issues with clogging. But with an 18-inch pipe, you don't really see too many issues with clogging. An issue with the velocities, the inlet velocities in the basin that we had discussed last time. What we had actually done is we had changed some of the slopes here to lessen up the steepness of the pipe, just to lessen the velocities to being less than 10 feet per second, which is something that, like I said at the last meeting, I think we were looking at 13 feet per second, 14 feet per second. It's just an erosion, really, measure coming into the basin here. We do still show the riprap pads that we had before that usually take care of most of the erosion issues, but Mr. Roseberry felt a little more comfortable if we could get that under 10 feet per second, especially for a site like this where it's going to be a private site. You don't want to have any more issues at a later
So
date.
you are at 10 feet per second?
Yes, we're less than 10 feet per second.
Okay.
And that's, like I said, we lowered the slopes to get to that point. Then all it did is really created a deeper manhole entering into the basin.
Okay.
Same thing with the outlet velocities. You just want to make sure to verify that the riprap pads were ample enough. We're looking at less than 7 feet per second out of the basin, which is actually less than the 10 feet per second what he was looking for.
Okay.
So we should be fine with that, with this riprap pad here in this area. Mr. Roseberry asked, actually it was more of a, I guess, a conscom issue, but it was a stormwater standard number 6. It's actually number 3. It has to do with the volume of water coming off the site. And what it is there's a couple of calculations that we need to provide showing the increase in impervious area. They have a certain factor that you put into it, depending on what kind of type of surface it is and what type of soils it is. What we're proposing to do after our discussion with Mr. Roseberry is we're going to do is we're going to put 2 dry wells that are going to tie in the roof drainage from the new building to take care of this issue, and allow us to meet that standard number 3 that stormwater management has. It's one of those things where it's an existing building, we get decided to talk with the Conservation Commission. It's one of those things where you can really count it as redevelopment, but we're trying to help out here, trying to work with the Conservation Commission and really count it as new development and hopefully get the TCC and the stormwater quality up to standards for new development. So that's what we're going to add, 2, like I said, 2 dry wells in from the roof runoff from the new part of the building. And then there's actually going to be overflows from those. Say they ever do fail, they would be tied into the drainage system, so they would dump into this instead of just bubbling up and or just cracking or anything like that. So there will be some type of overflow with that also. And that was, like I said, a request of Mr. Roseberry to take care of that issue. And then the other issue, obviously, was, like I said, we've done some investigation with some of the downstream culverts. All he wants us to do is produce a letter summarizing what we found with the size of the culverts. From what I understand, there's a 2-foot or 2-foot by 3-foot box culvert that goes into it's either an 18 or 24 inch, and it's tough. When we went out there, it was, like I said, it was a couple weeks ago, so it was still a little bit wet. So it was tough to really get an accurate measurement, but between an 18 and 24 inch pipe, which should be ample enough for flow. And again, our drainage calculations that we did show, we do show that the peak runoff rates afterwards are going to be less than the peak runoff rates now. Like I said, it's one of those things where we're treating this as a whole new development, so we're trying to work, try to get those rates down a little bit in this area. And so that's what we do show in the calcs is a lower peak flow rate coming out of this area here. And so whatever is going through those culverts now, it's actually going to be a little less later on by 0.1, 0.2 CFS or something along those lines. Then there was a question about the sewer extension permit. We explained to them that this is going to stay under private control. And he just asked us, again, like I said, we had discussion about this manhole here. We just told them, obviously, since they're paving this area here, we'd like to leave a manhole off to the side in case anybody needs to connect to it at a later date. He doesn't really have an issue with it. There's no, if you look at the permit requirements, it's a private property. There's no need for a sewer extension permit for this. It's just they consider a connection for a building. So, and Mr. Roseberry agreed with it. He just wanted to know, I guess, the real issue here. And like I said, if the applicant's looking to pave this area, they don't really want to have to rip it up at a later date if somebody needs to tie into that area. So it's more of a planning issue. And then again, he just, like I said, he just asked for a letter, putting all this in writing, especially the issue about the conditions downstream. And that was his biggest issue. He just wants everything in writing, and he didn't really have too many issues with the changes that we're making to take care of his comments. questions from the board members or chairman?
Are you showing new loading docks? Can you show us where those are?
We do show, the loading docks that we showed at the last meeting are still in this area here. The 3 loading docks that'll be facing in the northern direction.
Is there any way those can be made to face away from the homes instead of toward the homes?
Really can't tell exactly where the grades here, but from the way the grading works here in this site, I don't think that the amount of work that would have to be done here, I don't know if it's really feasible to get it done.
I think you should look at it, making it feasible. It looked just as feasible to me when I went up there to do it one side or the other, and I think you would want to be taking these homes into consideration. Also, this back driveway, that's within the required 50-foot buffer zone. I would be looking for this plan to show that being ripped out, landscape buffer planted right through that back driveway area.
I guess to touch on that.
Have you
Can I touch on that issue for a second?
Yes, I'd like to-
Obviously, there's an existing use
Yeah.
here.
Right.
If they don't put this expansion in, they don't obviously intend to do anything, I guess, take out this area here. It's really an addition. It's, added impervious area. Yeah, it's added, I guess, 6,400 square feet of warehouse or industrial use, but we're not really looking to decrease the amount of grass area or treat area along this White Street. My clients do not want to allow this access to be closed off or even taken out of there.
Okay, have you, has there been any discussion of the hours of operation, whether your clients would be willing to accept limited hours of operation?
I don't know about limiting hours of operation, but I believe it's only one shift type operation at this point.
24-hour-a-day stuff going in there? Would you be willing to accept a restriction on that?
No.
You wouldn't? No. You would not be willing to? Okay. That says a lot.
Well, we may take our operation over there at some future point.
I know, that's what I was thinking.
You're right next to
Okay. Very good. Continue.
Any other questions?
I have a question. I'm just curious about the size of the proposed expansion in relation to the building. How did it come that that's where that proposed expansion was going to be placed? Well, did you think of other alternatives before you placed it there?
Well, obviously, I think that the distance here is minimum length for a trailer truck. Obviously, being backed in, that obviously creates a starting point. From a standpoint of logistics in the building, I'm sure there are doors in there that, there's existing uses, like I said, within the building now. The last meeting, we discussed some of the existing uses in there. Obviously, we have to take into account that. We're not to disturb some of the existing uses or even some of the existing space. I guess an expansion point, it works best here. Some of the uses that are in there and some of the uses that they're looking to get in.
It wouldn't, like, as you're driving up Harvard Street and the building, you approach the building on the left, it wouldn't have fit, like, right in the front there? Because it seems like there'd be plenty of room. I'm just asking. I mean, you have it proposed as you have it proposed.
No, I think it's more of a preference thing, like I said, I think a layout issue, depending on what kind of uses they're looking to get in there. Obviously, this area would be better suited, I think, for some of the people that want to be seen. I don't know if this is more of a warehouse use or something like that. It really doesn't need to be seen. It's more of, I think, a preference standpoint. Again, would meet all the zoning requirements from the standpoint of offsets and stuff like that. It's industrial zone for the area.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add? Okay. Okay, I'll open up the floor to anyone else which is in favor of this petition. Yes, sir.
Scott Bigelow, 32 Lincoln Street. I'd just like to point out that when we bought this building, the prior use employed over 200 people. We spent hundreds of thousands of dollars splitting this building up to make it into small businesses, which employ, I think right now, roughly around 40 people total. So we've cut down the traffic immensely in response to the neighborhood. We had many offers not to do anything to the building and just leave it as a big factory, which would have kept it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with a lot more traffic than is there today. I feel we've been good neighbors. One of the first meetings we had, they talked about the trash being picked up in the middle of the night. Well, we went back and asked Waste Management to not pick it up in the middle of the night. And then at a further meeting, I heard that it wasn't happening. It was still being picked up. So we called Waste Management again, and the dispatcher there said, well, wait a minute, sir, I can check it because we're on GPS. And the trucks don't leave their yard until after 5 o'clock in the morning. He said, so I don't know how they're picking it up before. And it's probably more like 9 o'clock on most days that we're being picked up. So, you know, we're trying to be a good neighbor. We went the extra mile to call Waste Management to have them do that. It's just one example. I just feel we've cut down on that traffic and the activity over there for the neighbor's benefit. And we're not trying to do anything to hurt the neighborhood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Randy Bigelow, 51 Lincoln Street. That White Street tree line, we're not looking to eliminate that or get rid of it. We're not gonna clear cut that trees that are there. We'd be willing to put up some pine trees or something that would stay green all year round. As more of a buffer.
So those would remain and you would add?
Yeah. We're not looking, wouldn't do us, I mean, wouldn't benefit us to cut them down. You know?
Evergreen, okay.
Okay, very good. Anyone else? Okay, anyone that's in opposition? Yes, ma'am?
Mr. Chairman, may we ask for the people who are here in opposition to this expansion to stand, and may we have a count recorded, please, sir?
Why not?
Sure, why not? Go ahead.
Those people who are in opposition to this expansion, please? Could we have a count?
All right, Carol's counting for me.
I count 11. Am I right? Maybe 12, oh, no, 14.
12.
13?
The two out in the hall don't count.
13.
Cameraman doesn't count.
Thank you
Unless he
very much,
raises his
sir.
hand.
More than 12.
Okay.
And what was your name?
My name is Carol Newell, and I live at 39 White Street. There are 11 abutters to 375 Harvard Street, and you have 11 letters of opposition to this expansion in the packet which I gave you. I hand-delivered it last week. And Mr. Souza, I understand that you forgot yours, but I do have an extra one if you
Oh, no, I've read them all, I have them, and I've gone through each and every one of those when I was at home. There's no
Oh, thank you
problem.
very much, Mr. Chairman.
I didn't have to.
We appreciate that.
In fact, I got my copy the day you delivered it.
Yes, she told me, the secretary told me that you would.
Yeah, so I did get my copy and I had extra time to read it because I knew I was
That's
gonna be,
good.
I knew I was gonna be
really
away this weekend.
I've also submitted a petition to you respectfully requesting a 50-foot buffer zone and asking to keep the back gate locked. And that petition is signed by 68 people. There are 68 signatures from abutters and neighbors on Ridgewood Drive, Parkdale Avenue, Cottage Street, and White Street. We want the back gate kept closed to all traffic. We do not want even the car traffic of the employees going into that gate. Mr. Bigelow alluded to the fact that he has cut down the traffic. Well, I don't know how he cut down the traffic on White Street because there was no traffic going in the back gate anyway since he bought that building for $800,000. Once the gate is open, it's open, and anyone that wants to will go through there. Some people just do what they want to do regardless of what the rules are. 2004, the Bigelows applied to the City Council for a special permit. Councilor James Lanciani ask them to listen to the abutters. He is a seasoned, wise counselor, and I would ask the Bigelows to follow his advice. We abutters are not asking for anything that is unreasonable. There are several zoning ordinances which we respectfully request that you follow, and these are taken from the Leominster zoning book, this Leominster zoning book here. Section 22-49. In reviewing a site plan application, the planning board shall take into consideration the health, safety, and welfare of the immediate neighborhood in particular, and may prescribe reasonable conditions and safeguards to ensure the accomplishment of the following general objectives. Section 22-49.5. Existing trees are preserved to the maximum extent possible. Parking, storage, refuse, and service areas will be suitably screened during all seasons of the year from the view of adjacent residential areas and public rights-of-way. Section 22-53.4.1. Industrial use abuts a residential district, a landscape buffer of a minimum of 50 feet in depth designed to mitigate the impact of the business or industrial use on residential districts may be required. Section 22-54.1.5.2. Plantings must be 4 feet tall at planting when abutting a residential zone. 375 Harvard Street is indeed an industrial zone abutting a residential zone. All of the abutters respectfully request that these zoning ordinances be enforced. White Street is 49.5 feet wide. 24 feet are paved, and it's not necessarily in the center of the roadway. On the tape of the last planning board meeting, Wesley said there are 145 feet from the new parking lot pavement that is proposed to the edge of the pavement of White Street, which is in front of my house. On the site plan, 1 inch equals 30 feet. There are 1 3/4 inches between the proposed parking lot pavement and the city property line of the road, and this is approximately 53 feet, not 145 feet. We want to know the hours of operations and when the deliveries will be made by the trailer trucks before the site plan is approved. A trailer truck turned around in the parking lot right next to my house yesterday, exactly where the proposed loading docks would be. It made a terrible racket. We need relief from this noise pollution, and I do appreciate Mr. Millett asking if the loading docks could be put in a different place. Mrs. Harper is already troubled by the loading docks on the other side, and the loading docks on my side, which are right next to my house, are going to be much closer to my house than the loading docks on the side next to Mrs. Harper's house. And you have a letter from her stating how noisy the trailer trucks are at 1 o'clock in the morning. At 51 White Street, where Mrs. Ellis lives, right next door to me, the parking lot was repaved without a permit, and it is almost to the property line now. I gave you some photographs in the little packets, and you can see how thin and sparse the vegetation is between the parking lot and Mrs. Ellis's house. And she can see all the dumpsters, she can see the factory, she can see everything that goes on in that parking lot. Now, Wesley told Bernie McCaffrey there is plenty of room for a 50-foot buffer zone. The parking lot pavement is almost to the city line now, so it's impossible to have a 50-foot buffer zone. It's almost on there now. And I believe it's possible that the vegetation possibly may have been cut down already on some of the city property. And I think that should be looked into. This is not acceptable to the abutters. And I ask you very respectfully to ask Whitman and Bingham to modify their plan so that it will be satisfactory for the abutters. We want a buffer zone of 50 feet with dense evergreen trees, not just some pine trees that you can see through. We want dense evergreen trees. And we want them 4 feet tall at planting, And we want them to be able to totally screen the view when they grow to their full extent. Now, I would like to address the issue of zoning, Mr. Chairman. I understand that 375 Howard Street is an industrial zone, is that correct, sir?
That is correct.
That is correct, okay. On the videotape of the last meeting, Randy Bigelow assured us that there is no retail going on there today. And may I confirm that with Mr. Bigelow, please?
That's right, go ahead, continue.
Okay. He told Mr. Millette that the retail space is empty and that on the site plan, it should be changed to manufacturing space. And do you remember that, sir?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Did you speak to the enforcement officer concerning having any retail space in that area?
It was mentioned to him, I have not gotten anything back from him.
Did you ask him?
I did not, it was the department that asked him.
But he was asked?
Yes.
And he has not gotten back to us?
I don't know, I don't remember.
So to your knowledge, there is no report that has
There's no
come back?
report back, right?
Okay. The zoning ordinance definition of a retail store on page 10 of the blue zoning ordinance book states, "It's a business that sells consumer products directly to consumers." On April 7th, 2005, I visited 375 Harvard Street, and I went to EMG Associates, and I asked them if they were interested in doing business with private parties. They said yes, they were, and they offered to do my landscaping and all of my yard work for the summer. And when I finish, I will give you a copy of their business card. I also went to Garage Doors Unlimited, and I asked them if they do business with private homeowners. I spoke with a young lady, and she gave me a brochure of the residential doors, and she offered even to come to my home and measure my garage door so that I wouldn't have to do it. And she told me that they will be moving out of 375 Harvard Street on June 1st, 2005. And I believe she said they're moving to Hamilton Street. And I will submit a brochure of this process for your examination. And then I went over to Lesco, where they sell all the lawn products. And I bought a bag of fertilizer. I have an invoice that says on it, retail. My check number 1264, is on the invoice. I will submit a copy of my canceled check that they canceled and a copy of my invoice which says retail on it for your examination. Perhaps the enforcement officer would like to think about the decision of whether or not there is retail going on there now, since I have given you documentation that proves there are retail stores at 375 Harvard Street. And I would be happy to give you these documents. These are the photographs, Mr. Chairman. This is when ESP, they're labeled. ESP Lock owned the building, and this is when the Bigelows bought the building. And this is a picture of the loading docks. And you can see, this was taken in 1995, before the loading docks were filled in, and you can see that they were filled in a great deal, and they're much higher now, and the noise echoes off into the neighborhood. And where it is in the back, where we're going to have the loading docks now, on the back by White Street, it's going to be very noisy.
This is the old,
This is the old
Okay,
loading
right.
docks, yep.
and the new...
I don't have a picture of the new loading docks. This is the
Okay.
old loading docks. See, they filled them in way up here. You can see where they filled them in. Now, this is EMG Associates, and I spoke with this gentleman, and he gave me his business card, and he offered to do a lot of things for my home, my landscaping, etc. And this is the brochure from Garage Doors Unlimited, and this young lady right here offered to come over and measure my door so that she could sell me a door.
Okay.
And this is my invoice from Lesco that says retail, and it also says retail in two other places, and there is a copy, my check number is right there. This is a copy of my check, This is where the check was canceled by Lesko, and this is a brochure that they gave me. So I'd like to submit this as documented proof that there is retail going on in 375 Harvard Street today, sir.
Thank you very much. Andy, you enter those into the record, please. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for letting me speak on this issue.
Very good presentation. Does anyone else wish to speak in opposition to this? Yes, sir.
Bernie McCaffrey, 100 Ridgewood Drive, Leominster. Before I begin, I'd like to address Scott Bigelow's comments. They did spend quite a bit of money to buy an industrial building, and they did subdivide it back in April and May of last year. However, they did so under permits that were granted illegally by the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I think, Mr. Chairman, you recall this as you wrote a letter regarding it to the editor of the Sentinel Enterprise at that time. Since the residents brought the matter into land court, the owners of 375 Harvard Street have had a very quiet operation, and there's not been a lot of trouble in the neighborhood. It was only when this proposal was brought forward to bring trucks around to the residential, heavily populated residential side, that people got upset again. And following up on Mrs. Newell's comments, the building inspector back in June of last year, following the action that was brought into land court, did make a determination that at least one of the businesses that's still operating at 375 Harvard Street is not permitted. And he did so in a letter, and I have a copy that I'd like to submit for the record. I've got copies for everybody. It's the last page in the attachments. Good one.
Thank you.
I've got one more.
That's right.
Some 30 days ago, we requested that the building inspector follow up on enforcement action against the non-permitted businesses. And as of yet, we too have still not heard from the building inspector on that matter. I would respectfully suggest that it would be improper for the planning board to consider expansion plans until the building is brought into compliance with the zoning ordinances. And perhaps we wouldn't all have to waste a lot of time coming back down here over and over again to discuss our objections to this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition to this? Yes, sir.
John Gravel, 51 Parkdale Avenue. I have lived on Parkdale Avenue and in the neighborhood for 35 years, since 1970. I moved to the neighborhood. At that time, ESP Lock was not in that location, and there was an apple orchard there. And when the when the area was zoned industrial, and ESP came before another board similar to this one to request permission or to build their industrial building, one of the orders of, it wasn't by accident that this back gate was locked for 35 years or closed off to the public. That was an action that was taken as a result of conditions that were imposed at that time by the current planning board. That was an order of condition. That gate was intended to be closed to protect the neighborhood from the commercial traffic that would be entering and leaving ESP, as well as the employee traffic. And that was a condition that was complied with, for the most part, for 35 years. And to now say that, we're just going to forget about that, is, I have a real serious problem with that. It was an order of condition. So you would be overturning an existing order of condition that took place.
That's new information. I did not realize that there were order of conditions that went with the original building. We'll try to find the records. I'll make it, yeah.
Do you have a record of that?
No, I do not.
Just a memory?
I do not have a recollection of it, and I was at the planning board meeting at that time. Obviously, I was concerned.
Thank you.
I'm not gonna make any promises on that one, 35 years ago.
We'll do our best.
We'll do our best to look it up.
I was too.
Okay. The only other place, no, wouldn't be on deed, might be on the original plan. But, that's new, wasn't aware of that. Do we have any other information? Any comments? Yes, sir?
John Hemingway, 7 White Street. I just have a question. The gentleman over here mentioned a few times in his presentation about proposed usages and never specifically said what they were. I would be curious to know.
Any usage in that building must comply with the usages that are in the zoning ordinances for an industrial zone. Okay? Carol's being good, she's looking it up for me quick right now. So there are, those usages. Any other usages to that building, the ZBA can't, at one time was giving use variances. That has been, they do not do that anymore. Okay? So at this point, they should be, if it's in the accepted uses of the ordinances, then that use, that's what's allowed. Okay? You have industrial in there, Carol?
Yeah.
It's also
There's
non-industrial
not that many. There's not that many, so I can, any industrial use is obviously allowed in industrial zone. Industrial research and development facilities, light manufacturing using portable electrical machinery, manufacturing of precision instruments, tool and die, dental, medical, and optical equipment, manufacturing of products for on-site retail sale, manufacturing, research, development, and production utilizing DNA technology that complies with other codes of the city, service buildings built and maintained by a manufacturer or office complex intended for use by employees. And then also television, no, that's wrong. Warehousing, but only when it's used in conjunction with other existing uses located within the city. No. Home occupations, home offices, hotels.
Business professional officer building.
Business and professional officer building converted from a single-family residence or not converted from a single-family residence.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chairman? Can you repeat to me what you said there was one client moving out of the building? Ma'am?
Yes, sir.
And what was the company's name? Is it Lesco?
Garage Doors Unlimited.
Garage Doors Unlimited. The reason I asked is obviously EFG, I think, would fall under professional business. They're actually an architect, landscape architect, and I would consider them to be a professional use. Obviously, they're in front of the board, like we are, so they're, I guess, would fall under the non-converted use of business office.
I think the one company that is questionable is Lisco.
And then I think,
Especially if the garage door is moving out.
and I don't know if it's, I'm not sure exactly what
I
Lesco
think
does.
general uses over here. Horticulture, floriculture, less than 5 acres.
That's a lot also.
Is that Lesco?
I'm not quite sure. Now, what is Lesco?
Lesco sells tractors, they sell
And that could be what-
fertilizer.
Agriculture.
And that could be what it falls under then. It's one of those things where,
Agriculture, horticulture,
Well,
floriculture.
according to the building
5
inspector,
acres.
that didn't, well, it was for a different reason. According to the building inspector, they needed a special permit.
Education
But
it doesn't name it, I don't think, in there. You can
So the building classification.
Those are some of the uses. If you're looking for a specific name of, that they're gonna put in an ABC Corporation, we don't know that. They're not required to tell us, but they may not know that themselves.
Yeah. So that's not part of, the planning board is responsible for the square footage, and say this is an industrial square footage. With that, it says that requires a certain amount of parking, bathrooms, houses, and whatever it might be for a building. So that gives us a criteria for the building and how that building is situated on the lot. The actual use of that, what industrial, long as it meets one of the criteria in our book, that's up to that. So they could not come in there with a cement plant or an asphalt plant or a heavy industry. Okay, it's strictly light industry. Okay, yes, ma'am.
At the last planning board meeting, Randy Bigelow said that the 19,200 square feet of retail space was empty, and that it was an error on the plan, and that it was to be changed to manufacturing use. I submit to you that it is not empty, because I have given you a slip that says retail on it. Regardless of the fact of what Lesko is, horticultural, or whatever you'd like to call it, it says in English, it is retail use.
No, I'm not, I don't want to get into that. I'm gonna sit down with Mr. Cataldo and get his reading on that. Okay, ma'am?
Mr. Chairman, I need to clarify one point. When I said that the order of conditions went back to the original construction of the building, I had a slight memory lapse. It was actually, the order of condition was placed when they put the addition on approximately 10 years later. They put a large addition on the back side of the building. And when that was added on is when the order of condition was placed on the back gate. And it was intended to be for emergency use only from that point on.
Okay. I don't remember, so I wasn't here at the time, and I'll have to defer to see if what we can find for records on that building.
Mr. Chairman, at the last meeting, you said that temporarily it would remain closed as it was supposed to be. You said that. I have the tape of the last meeting, and you said it would remain closed.
Good.
Okay, I just want it to remain closed.
I think it is closed still.
It is closed now, but I
Chairman, I
want
would
it
like
to
to
remain
raise a point of
closed.
order. This is a public hearing, not an on-running debate.
Right.
Could we please cut it off and be brief?
I think we've got all the issues. I think the primary issues that we're concerned with the buffer zone and the noise and the use of the building, and which we'll have to look into.
I'm also just as concerned about keeping that gate closed, which you didn't mention. I have
I'm talking about the gate. Yeah.
I have a mother who lives with me. She's going to be living permanently with me.
Please stand and identify yourself, ma'am.
Frida Hemingway, 7 White Street. I have 2 children. Our next door neighbor has a very young son, 2 years old. I think he's around 2. And I have a mother who's got Alzheimer's. And we walk up and down that street. There's no sidewalk. I can't go over to one side because there's nothing but poison ivy. And broken down, fallen down trees, no evergreen trees to separate us from all of the noise and everything. And I'm really concerned about additional traffic, any traffic whatsoever on that street. I don't think that gate should ever be opened, even during construction or anything else that they might do, because there are too many kids on the street. And I mean, down at the bottom of the street, there's another young boy. And he comes up to play with my son. My son goes down there. There's no place for them to get off the street. And I'm really concerned about that gate ever being opened, and I'd really like to just see it closed.
Thank you. Do I have anything new, a new point or issue to be brought forward?
Just one point, I was following up from the meeting last month. Has the issue of relocating the gas meters from the corner of the building where the tractor trailers will be backing in and out, has that issue been resolved?
The exact new location hasn't been taken care of yet. It will be taken care of obviously when construction happens.
That's a construction issue, that doesn't have anything to do with the planning board. I mean, they'll have to show where they are, and the fire department will have to know where it is. It'll have to be on the plan, but, okay.
I mean, those meters are today, they're within less than 200 feet of the homes that, on White Street, so it's obviously a concern if they're gonna be in the traffic area for loading and unloading.
I'm sure they don't want to put them in a traffic area, so they'll probably get moved if they have a good architect. Sounds like that, but that's a different issue. That's up to the safety and the building inspector and the fire department to control that one. Okay, I think, I'll ask one more time, anything new? I'm trying to give everybody an opportunity, but also don't want to be redundant. Okay, at this time, the motion in order.
So move to close the hearing.
Motion made, do I have a second? Second to close the hearing, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. $7:45 hearing. Break?
We'll just plow through this.
If we take a break, I may not come back.
I second that.
I'm gonna fly at 5 in the morning. Let's move this.
Okay, public hearing. Whirlwind Capital LLC, 40 Shawmut Road, Suite 200, Canton, Mass, for the development of an 8-lot definitive subdivision off of Willard Street. Wow.
That is Whirlwind.
Pioneer Drive.
They had to make room for it.
I got Rich Top.
You're clear.
Wow, look at
Good evening,
this.
folks.
Guess nobody likes you.
Just take it what it says.
Whirlwind and Rich Top.
Get a little leery of anybody who refers to himself as a whirlwind.
Published, right?
Okay.
Open it and table it.
Good luck.
I'm gonna run through that quick. They got it, do it.
You gotta
Advertise.
ask him. Open it and table it.
Advertise do that.
Well, let's try.
Okay, you're on.
Good evening. My name is Robert Oliver. I'm a civil engineer with Hanley Engineering. With me tonight from Whirlwind Capital is John Goldman, the applicant. What we're proposing is an 8-lot subdivision on Willard Street. The parcel is 22.3 acres. That's in the darker dashed outline in this location. We're proposing, well, the existing site has 2 existing power lines that run through it. There's an easement here, roughly 261 feet into the property here, and then a 125-foot wide easement through at this location. The frontage on Willard Street, there's existing A&R lots that were previously approved. Through those lots, there's an existing access for this parcel. It's a 500-foot cul-de-sac with 8 lots coming around. The road entrance would be directly across from the Candlewood Drive to the Castle Lane subdivision. We're meeting the center line as required. There's no offset to those center lines. The existing site is, for the most part, wooded. There's a slope that comes up through the A&R lots and then flattens out through the portion of the site that's proposed to be developed. The development will leave some remaining land in this area as well as this area. The plans you show, just for planning purposes, show some possible A&R lots. They haven't been filed or drawn up yet. The roadway we're proposing is 28 feet wide. We're asking for a waiver on the width from 32 feet to 28 feet. We have not shown a sidewalk. We were requesting a waiver for that as well. We did have a development review meeting with the city, and at that meeting, DPW expressed their desire for street trees, so I think we've agreed to throw the street trees in, even though we've asked for a waiver. I believe we've also asked for a waiver to go with bituminous concrete curb rather than granite curbing. If I can switch plans. This shows just the development portion of the parcel. This would be remaining land, and this would be remaining land out here. So here's 8 lots with the 500-foot cul-de-sac. We've shown an island in our cul-de-sac. Basically, the road, here's the slope I referred to through the A&R lots, and then it does flatten out at the top. We'll be cutting our roadway up into the site. The roadway grades meet the subdivision rules and regs requirements for slopes. We have a drainage system that we have a couple of catch basins at this location as well as this location. Those will drain to a detention basin on one of the A&R lots, which is owned by the applicant. These lots are all still owned by the applicant. There would be an easement created for the detention basin. We're also proposing a pretreatment unit to the detention basin rather than a sediment forebay, which you've been seeing.
Why isn't that detention basin part of the plan? I mean, you're showing that on the A&R lot then?
Yeah, it doesn't, that would be on this lot right here. We've shown the easement here. There's really, because of the entrance that's there, there's no room. Because the road grades down, the grades on the lots are higher than the roadway itself, so we couldn't put this basin up here. I think we originally thought about doing that, but the grades don't work.
Okay.
So what we're doing is we're draining everything down to here. The outlet to this basin is connected into Candlewood Drive. The system that's there for the Castle Lane subdivision. How we analyzed the drainage was we took, Whitman and Bingham had done the drainage calculations for Castle Land, which included our site as part of their calculations. So what we had done is we had taken their post-development conditions for this site and modified them for ours with the addition of this detention basin, and basically maintain the flows through Castle Land using this. Due to the increase in runoff and mitigating it at our detention basin, we maintain the flows through Castle Land. We have sewer, which will come out to the newly installed sewer, and also water as well, which connects to the main, which is not yet in service, but we're anticipating that it will be, obviously before this gets built. We have a hydrant at this location as well as at the beginning of the road. We have comments from the different departments. We have some comments from DPW regarding drainage and some other items. There's certainly all comments that we can address. There's nothing in there that, there was a comment regarding Lot 8 and the lot widths that we'll look at, but we can work with, if we have to adjust some lot lines slightly to get that lot to work. That's basically it in a nutshell. I tried to keep it brief.
How long is the cul-de-sac?
It's 500 feet. Actually, it's 500 feet right to the end.
Now, number one, I'm going to start off is with your waivers. Sidewalks, we will have sidewalks. Okay? We've been doing that all along. Either that or you're going to put sidewalks someplace else. Seeing as there's no place on Willard Street because it's too narrow already, unless you want to put equal amount of 1,000 feet on Willard Street. Okay? So there are no waivers on, typically, it's up to the board, but I'm just letting you know right up front. And also, well, street width is okay. We will want the street trees, and we do want the granite curbings. So, I have a question. It just seems strange to me. By putting the detention basin on that lot, that's an A&R lot, on Willard Street, you basically render that lot useless. Why isn't that part of the subdivision?
I'm sorry, I guess I...
That was an A&R lot.
It is an A&R lot.
It would be, because it's got a frontage on Willard Street.
It's already been created and endorsed. what we've done, and I neglected to mention this, there's a small parcel here, which is the remainder of this opening, that we're gonna give back to this lot. And it gives the usable frontage now off of our new right-of-way. This frontage becomes useless for the lot, they get access from the new road.
Okay, so we're really talking about, that's what I thought. So we're really talking about 10 houses.
9.
Oh, no, did you get?
There's
There's 8 and the 1 9, I was just thinking, okay. So you would have 9 houses, not 8.
So that's another lot?
This is an existing lot in this location. There's a small parcel that gets left behind with the right-of-way. We add this lot line, this parcel gets
8 lots was 1 A&R.
the detention basin. I didn't explain it very well.
Now,
What's the size of that lot?
You
I
know
can't
what?
read it on here.
I don't know offhand. I don't believe we have that in our lot area there. It still remains, it actually gets bigger under this proposal. Granted, it has an easement on it now.
That with the easement.
So do we endorse circles with
He's talking about the little, he's talking about the circle within the cul-de-sac.
Yes.
We do endorse that?
Yeah, we do most of the time. What we have found is, DP doesn't really like it, but we have found that most of the groups and the people that have them really like them. Well, you don't agree? I know you live in
I
one.
live in a neighborhood that has 2 of them, and nobody takes care of either one of them, except for one person.
Yeah.
If
No,
I-
he's talking about the circle in the center of the, in the center of the cul-de-sac.
Basically, it's all about you. No, I think they're a mess, that, when they happen.
Yeah.
Nobody mulches them, they put trees that grow forever, nobody, cuts them. And you leave it up to 8 people, maybe 1 or 2 people that do something.
So how about if we keep it, we condition you up there?
He doesn't do his
I
homework.
just think it should be an open shop.
now, there was a concern from the fire department, is that municipal water in there?
What is there now is, there's a new main in Willard Street, and there's an existing state pump station in Jitech Park that the applicant is rebuilding, revamping as part of Castle Land subdivision. It's not in service yet. It's very near to that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, we're probably, at Jitech, we're probably 2 or 3 weeks away from getting the new domestic water pumps on, and then the new fire pumps, they're putting in the motor control center, that's probably 4 to 5 weeks. So Jitech, we put in new domestic water pumps, new fire pumps, I'm sorry.
So Whirlwind is tied in with Castellan?
Yes, Whirlwind owns Castle Land as well.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm sorry,
I didn't know
thought
that.
everybody knew that. But again, Jitech is probably...
So you're already involved with that?
Totally done.
You're also involved with the intersection?
We're involved with everything, yes.
So, because that was the other condition that we have, is that the other people have had to, and we've got the formula with the intersection of Route 12.
And I mean, the only thing Whirlwind has is right now, at least, we're the only one involved in Jitech, and we weren't supposed to be. So, and we're working on that, but, I mean, that's being worked. I'm just, to point it out.
I'm working on that also.
I know, and I know everybody is, everybody's been very good about it, but right now, it's a, $300,000+ improvement that we've done. So.
And I appreciate that very much, sir.
So is the answer yes, it is municipal water?
Yes.
It will be.
Sure, yeah.
That was, that it will be, and by the time they get this built, it will
Long
be.
before, yeah, long before this was built.
Before I forget, if I could just go back to the circle, we had talked to DPW, and this is a new size. This is a reduced, it's a 20-foot diameter, whereas if you took the road width and made the circle, the difference in the road width, it would be much bigger. So I guess it's somewhat of a compromise at this point.
Did they said
This
they
came from-
liked it? Because usually they say no.
I know.
They'll approve it.
Plowing is horrible.
Yeah, plowing is a real nightmare.
You can't plow around them.
I personally would rather see them go away, but I talked to John Roseberry at DPW, and I guess this is something new they want to try.
Yeah,
Okay.
Ray Racine had mentioned something to me as well, so
Okay.
something they want to
Changing
I know safety.
the guard,
try different things.
beautify the city at the expense of the plows.
kids on
Yeah.
the street.
Because all it's gonna be is bituminous, right?
Well, what had happened was, when we first looked at that, when we first changed the zoning, there were a number of issues where they had problems with the large open areas. So at that time, and I can't remember what they were now, at that time it was made recommendation to put in the trees, and this was something to beautify neighborhoods and...
I'll bet if you look at 10 of them around town, 8 of them are not.
I agree with you.
Okay, but,
That's,
And then during a snowstorm, look at them.
right.
well, yeah. So anyway, it's in the ordinances, and if the DPW wants a smaller size, we can probably go with that. Okay. Do you have anything else to add?
No, I can take any more questions?
Okay.
Have you addressed the issues that DPW brought up? And
No, we haven't made any revisions. I certainly read them, and they can certainly all easily be addressed.
Okay, and I'm sad, I note the Board of Health's concerns, but I can't speak to the rest, but I'm satisfied with what you wrote in your development impact study. For conservation, looks like it's all set.
Fire department.
Fire department, well,
That's based on the water line.
but that's just what Michael asked. He
No,
says-
well, that's right. It's based on the water line
That's on the water line.
being in service.
And then the building department seemed to be concerned with Lot 8, but that doesn't appear to be a pork chop lot,
You know,
at least where the house is positioned.
Yeah, I gotta tell you exactly. I don't know exactly what, it might have something to do with this width, but
What is
it's
the
got,
width?
it has the required frontage, and the width of the house is the required width, but
It's that little jog right
it
there.
might be, it might be.
You see how Ed's
Yeah.
concerns, because this goes in here, this is
Okay.
81 foot of frontage, and he thinks it's narrower, you know, that new ordinance we had.
Now, what is the frontage at the narrowest point? You gotta carry your frontage through, the minimum frontage through.
Look at this.
So if you have 100-foot frontage and a minimum is 80, at that point, that becomes your frontage, that's the 80.
We were in 1987. But that's 18 years old.
We don't have, minimum frontage is 80, we don't have that there.
How much do you have?
It's roughly 61.
You got a reserve strip going all the way out.
I'm sorry?
Willard.
Reserve strip, where?
Yeah,
This?
Doesn't that strip go all the way up to Willard?
This,
That's
No, frontage.
below it.
No.
That's a little.
this is a part, at one time, this was a piece of this lot, when we determined that the detention basin had to go here in order to
That's
keep,
gone away now?
well, this parcel goes to this A&R lot,
Mhm.
to keep frontage for that lot. We have the frontage, what I was,
So you need 80?
what I was suspecting we'd do to get the 80 through here is just to change this lot line.
You need a.
You're gonna have to change that lot line.
Yeah.
So, again, it's an item that's out there, but we can address it.
Okay, that's
Right.
why the building inspector thought it was a pork chop, it was a.
That's right,
Yeah.
it's only
Just that
61.
little jog.
You've gotta maintain your frontage. The minimum lot width has to be the frontage to the house. After that, you can, because we had a lot of problems in the past with 10-foot frontage. Yeah, oh, yeah. You've seen them.
That's a house.
So that's the only questions I had. It just have to,
You've gone through all these.
that's it, yeah, I went through them. So he needs to address the DPW concerns and change the lot line, and all the other ones I'm satisfied with. But are we gonna close this, or are we gonna,
No, because he's got a lot width
and the DPW stuff?
Let me
Okay,
ask a
that's what.
question on the sidewalks, is it both sides of the street, one sidewalk coming down,
One
just
side.
one? Okay, that's,
One side is fine.
no, I was just sort of questioning, I mean,
And then talk
certainly
about it, maintain
I could see
for you.
doing it on one side and it lines up with Candlewood, so maybe someone's crossing from there. I don't know where they're gonna go on Willard Street, because there's really,
Well, they would walk
But
down.
what happens is, it's the kids, it's the school buses,
So you.
they really don't, for 9 houses, they're not gonna go in. So what happens is the kids are gonna walk down the
and they
street.
might even cross over into the subdivision across, so lining it up with that would make sense to me.
Yeah. Okay, so on either side, whatever fits your grade, we don't have a problem with that.
Be a nice touch right there, build a little place for the kids to wait for the bus to move.
Yes, exactly.
So they don't fall into that pond,
Yeah.
like back and a fence.
Actually, Sterling, yes.
One
Okay.
concern I would have in making the street 28 rather than 32 is where it's one way in, one way out. If there was a fire on that street, 28 feet wide, I don't think is wide enough where two fire apparatus could make it on the street at the same time.
What we've
Is
done...
that a concern or not?
Well, no, we've gone down as low as 24. Okay, and a lot of the streets in the city are 22 and 21. What we find is the 32, what 32 allows parking on both sides and still have traffic. Pretty much we find the 28 seems to, and ends up being like a boulevard. And you're gonna go a little faster?
Well, where my thought is coming from, say, if there's a car parked in the street, if one of the houses catches on fire, we're at the south side of town, the fire engine gets there first. A ladder truck now needs to get in to get close to the home. If he can't get by, he's not going anywhere with a 100-foot ladder, he's stuck out. That's why I didn't know if the street should be wide enough where you can get two trucks on the street.
Your average width, a width of a lane on a highway is 12 feet. So you're talking 20, you're talking about two full lane widths. And then you still have the additional width for some of the
car parked on each side, so then what do you want?
Okay, but when you're driving the highway, out on Route 2 or 190, that lane width is 12 feet.
Right.
Okay, so then we're looking at 24, and then you have parking on one side without a problem. Okay, but I think we have cut them down. We do like to we try to cut down the impervious surface, save a little bit of ground, but we do want the sidewalks, okay? So, that's been pretty much the plan. Okay. Do you have anything else to add?
No, I'm all set, thank you.
Okay. Do I have any, I'll open up to the audience, do I have any comments from anyone in the audience? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Marsha Kasaka, and I'm a realtor at Caldwell Banker. And I'm wondering on that lot, is that lot 10 that you're gonna now, where that basin is? Is that number 10?
Well,
it would be 9.
It would be a 9th lot as part of the subdivision.
But is it marked number 10 on your drawing?
We're only going up to 8.
But I mean, on your other drawing for those lots down there, is it number 10 or number 9?
Oh, on
The A&R lots.
I don't know.
I think it's number 10.
Yeah. It doesn't say on this one.
Yeah,
it's not shown on our drawing.
I think that's number 10, if
Hold
I
it up and
recall.
show
12 there.
It's 12?
This is shown.
Oh, there it shows it.
4, 5, 6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
To be honest with you, it wouldn't make any sense if it was number 10, number 10.
But I think it is number 10.
I don't know, what's the issue, ma'am?
Oh, I'm just curious because I've had deposits on those lots for a year and a half. And I want to know if it's going to be
Yeah.
broken
If they're
up.
gonna put a built-in pool in the front
Yeah, if
yard?
they're going to put a basin in it.
Well, they better, if you got a deposit, they better know that they're gonna have a retention basin
Well,
on that
that's what
lot.
why I'm asking.
5 or 7?
The basin is on 11. You have a deposit on 10,
No, 11 also.
on 11?
5 lots I have deposits.
I think you better get your plot plan and find out.
I know it's 10. It's 10 on mine.
I mean, it's on the
Before you get the...
corner of,
If they
no,
count
that
it,
road's not there yet.
It's 5 from the right.
See the dog legs?
They don't, it starts at number 2. It doesn't start with 1.
This doesn't matter.
that would make it 9.
1,
Okay.
2...
Oh, it's 9 then?
If
starts with
if
2.
this is...
I don't know, we'd have to see the plan.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
not-
Do you have the
It's not an
No, I
issue.
don't, but it's
Ma'am,
not money,
it's
first of all,
nothing-
Marcia,
nothing to do
I
with it.
own that
Motion to
lot.
close it.
I know.
And it's not a lot that you have under agreement.
That's what I'm asking, what the
No,
lot
it's
number
not.
Well,
was.
that answers the
It's-
So that's 9. That answers the question then.
Yeah, okay, I have no idea, those are the A&R lots, and we're looking at the subdivision.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry, we don't take further questions.
Hearing no one else, do I have any questions from the board? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote to, motion, I need a motion to close the hearing.
No, continue it.
Oh, continue the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to continue the hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Our 8 o'clock hearing.
Thank you.
I'm not gonna read it. It's-
Amend the 1987 fees.
Yep.
We have a motion here to amend the 1987 fees. The hearing is open. Do I have anyone here that wishes to comment on the planning board changing the fees?
We did do it a lot.
We just tabled this.
I don't have to.
There is public record.
What do you want us to do, Joe? You want us to
Gonna
table
open
it?
and close the
No,
hearing.
we're gonna deal with it.
Open and
We're gonna deal
close
with it.
the
Just open and close it. Anyone in favor? Any opposed? There's 3 people here, so, any opposed?
Move to close the hearing.
Motion made and second to close the hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries.
John, you always know what to do.
Huh?
You always know what to do. All right.
Size things up.
Site plan, what's the date?
Okay, call to order.
All right, John Souza,
Yeah,
Carol Vittorioso.
yeah.
Arvin Millet.
Here.
Dave DiGiovanni.
Here.
Michael Cooley.
Here.
Tom Kerrigan.
Here.
Sal Chacon.
Here. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, he is.
Minutes of previous meetings.
Accept this mail.
I have a motion to accept. Do I have any discussion? Do I need a second?
Second.
I get a second. Do I have any discussion? Any additions or deletions? Do I have a motion to accept?
Motion to accept.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. Site plan, plan submitted, site plan, William Street Realty Trust, William Street.
Okay, it's gonna require a hearing, and,
Is this, this is site plan, okay.
yep, we can do it on the 3rd at 7:30.
I do, how many we have on the 3rd, Andy? Already?
We have a 6:30, a 6:45, a 7, and a 7:15.
Let's move this to the next meeting.
Okay, we're wide open on the 17th, we can do it at 6:30.
That's
Okay.
good.
Keep in mind, this is a public informational.
Yes,
The
that's right.
public information,
Information, but we're gonna move it out.
7:30?
6:30.
6:30.
6:30.
Second meeting in May.
Can't keep up with the pace of development.
What's the date of that?
Motion made and seconded for May 17th at 6:30. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. A&R plan, block 46 Franklin Street.
We have a gentleman here to submit that.
Boy. This poor cat is gonna go, what's wrong with it?
Yeah, he was here earlier, I'm sorry.
Moved it to the front of the list.
all right.
It could, that's one of this.
My name's Larry Savian, I'm with Hannigan Engineering. And I'm representing...
You get paid by the hour.
I'm getting paid by the hour.
less than I do.
Double time.
I hope you get paid by the hour. If not, it's denied.
And I think you better give me a bonus for making the deal.
I'll buy him a beer.
Yeah. What a sport.
Yeah.
Oh, we couldn't put it in the front because I wasn't here?
Yes, you
Yes,
had open the
wait
hearing.
for you. That is true.
You didn't need me, you had...
No, he wanted you here.
Don't be putting this on my back.
It was true.
I'm on to you.
Carol, you owe him a beer now.
Yeah, I owe nothing.
Next, we'll share that.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, very
Okay,
good. I also
Union
brought
Street,
a
Franklin
public
Street.
rendering to help
You can say that.
in trying to identify the property. The property is about 4 acres in size total. But what the blocks are intended to do is to cut out a new lot. We're shown as lot 4B. It is in a Residence B zone. It has the requisite area, frontage, and lot width to be putting a house outside of this general area.
Okay.
The remaining property, again, has the requisite frontage, area, and lot width with the existing house. What the box would like to do is reserve the right to keep this circular driveway. So we've created this little access and egress easement, if you will, encumbering the new lot, we'll call it. as shown as this little A. They also want to continue to be able to access the rear of the property. There's a little, actually under garage, if you will, on the back where it keeps his lawnmower and whatnot. So we've created another access area shown as parcel access B, which is this one over here.
Starting to get confused. Okay.
The lot in its entirety is encumbered by two existing easements. One is a 14-foot wide easement shown on the western property line. This easement is for the benefit of the abutting pieces here to access. Is also encumbered by a 10-foot wide on the easterly side, shown here in this little green area, for the benefit of this lot.
Okay.
All right, but those exist. We are proposing to do two additional access easements.
Okay, one for the,
One to try and maintain this circular driveway. What's
Okay.
shown here is, as this sort of buff color is the existing gravel drive. It's not paved. It is gravel.
okay, and 4A, 4B, is these are owned by the same people?
They currently are owned by the same people, that's correct.
Okay, now, what is this gonna be? And how wide is that? That's 50 feet.
This is 40 foot wide here.
That's 40
The
there.
house would go up in this general area here. The front setback requirement is 15 feet. Side setback requirements is,
Oh, man, you're gonna put a house up here with
that's
a,
correct.
but that's where his driveway is.
That's correct. That's why he wants to attempt to maintain this circular driveway area. I know. Chairman, it is very tight. I understand that. And then, as, again, this driveway is a gravel driveway, and it wraps around.
Do you have something to do with this?
Like the circumvention of the zoning ordinance.
So, you're gonna, by creating this lot, he builds a duplex because it's residence B. And now we got
Then what?
arrows everywhere and easements everywhere and,
And where's the park?
yeah.
Looks like you're gonna need a lot of parking in there for all that access.
For all those easements.
Yeah, the access is for his benefit.
Well, in every regard.
Yeah, he wants everything. He
He wants his cake, he wants to eat it, and he wants to puke it and everything
doesn't want
else.
to give anything up.
Well, again, currently he owns both lots, he has that right.
Well, he has that right to do it without my signature.
That's
He
me
has the
too.
right to
I'm
encumber
not
the
signing
proposed lot.
that. No way.
That's it.
You're getting a little too creative, I think.
Yeah. Boy, he's getting a little, not to you.
Getting a little-
You're just his
getting a little-
engineer,
I
but
mean,
it's
that's,
a little confusing.
it's not that it's only confusing, but it's,
Well, what's the confusing part, if I might ask?
Well,
What does
Just
A and B mean again? Can you explain why
those are easements, those are additional easements.
Yeah, more
This is an easement going to encumber the new lot
it's a nightmare.
access. This is also an easement encumbering
Yeah,
the new
well,
lot for
that's fine.
access.
Wait
For
for
his
the
benefit.
time period and it's yours,
But
right?
if you're gonna let people live there, I just don't think you should have
What's this, I
freeways going
understand
around
this
every side
access,
of
what's
their
this
home.
access?
And so you can get his backyard, that one belongs to this piece of property.
No, this easement in here is for the
It's in
benefit
here.
of this property.
Right.
Motion made, do I have a second to endorse this plan? Motion dies for lack of second. Do I have a motion to deny the A&R plan? Recommend?
No, you don't have to.
Can't.
You don't
Can't
have
deny it,
to.
you just don't endorse it.
Just don't endorse it.
Not endorsed. Move on. It's too much. And go to court, you'll get it, but it's,
Well,
So
You don't
time.
have to go to court, it's automatically approved.
yeah,
Get it out of here. We don't wanna put our name on that.
Can we move on? It's not 35.
It's,
we will then,
so move the question.
we will then have a town clerk endorsement after the.
you get your town by the written record. The board is not gonna endorse that piece. I'm sorry. So, let the town clerk do it.
any more plants like that, I'm gonna resign. That this is getting ridiculous.
We'll leave this with Mr. Taylor.
I'm out of here. It's the culmination of a lot of crap tonight.
Okay, old business, J. Whitney Development. 50 Old Mill Road limits the Finland subdivision for the development of an industrial subdivision on Central Street, Leominster, near the Leominster-Sterling line. What is the wish?
This is my thoughts. If we can keep this simple, I think this is an industrial piece of property in the city of Leominster, with the Collector Street within the city of Leominster, abutting the town of Sterling. And I think that's how we should look at it. However, we do have information that the same developer is proposing a residential development, whether it's 40B or a strict subdivision, that doesn't make any difference to me, abutting our industrial zone. So I think simply because it does abut industrial zone and that we have that information, we should take that into consideration. So I would make a motion to approve the subdivision with the condition that the proposed Collector Street be used exclusively for the industrial lots located in Leominster, unless and until that becomes a public way.
And that was what Coleman and Page had recommended also.
I'll second that. That's,
Wait, can we just have a little more discussion on this?
Well,
first?
after a
Well,
second,
we'll
you can
also-
discussion.
Oh, okay.
In a second, but we'll also...
I'm in second.
We have waivers too.
And we also have the waivers.
Yeah.
But I think-
So, with waivers to be...
All right, my question is,
we handle one at a time. Okay.
did you second the motion now?
Yes.
Okay.
So I have to approve the conditions, and then we'll have to deal with the waivers.
Carol's motion is
Right.
correct? One of my questions was the traffic island and why it's needed. I'm just,
So that's dealing with the waivers.
no, it's not dealing with the waivers.
That's dealing with her...
What deals with the road width?
You don't want
It deals with the road width.
Regardless of you're saying regardless of the width of the road where they're lining it, you don't like the...
Yeah, I just don't like that island there. You know why? I see a trailer truck coming out of the industrial subdivision, taking a right heading south on Route 12.
Wheels going on top of it.
And not just that, but for cutting off the right lane altogether to make the turn. It's not that smooth, it's still not gonna be that smooth a turn. I mean, they take a lot of room. I know that they're not gonna be crossing into the northbound lane at 12, but in order to do that, a lot of them are gonna be cutting over into the right-hand lane. You're looking at two lanes going out, correct?
You're talking about going
Going out.
and turning right.
Going out.
And turning right, so heading south on 12.
And your concern is,
Concern is that island in the middle there.
what if it isn't though?
Even if it is, and I'm still concerned with that tractor trailer being,
Yeah, what if it isn't there? All of a sudden now he takes a bigger chunk.
that's a point. That's why I want to discuss whether we want that island there or not.
I think.
Yeah, I think the island was put in with a, and they mentioned as a 9-foot, 9-inch height was to eliminate that. So the trucks, as they come in,
How
they
wide
won't
was
swing
that?
wide. It was 17 feet.
Yeah, well, it's 17
It's
feet
17,
long,
the
right?
road, no, the road
17
width
feet
was
wide going
17
out.
feet.
The road width was, how wide was the island?
2 or 3 feet,
2 feet?
yeah.
I was trying to think of what,
You need something there.
Yeah, that's a safety issue.
Everybody
that
thinks
works?
those islands are great until you get stuck in one.
Yeah, but it's 17, yeah, but,
Maybe the island should be just maintained.
well, I think the question was,
Sort of
maybe,
raised.
What if
Painted
there's
island.
what if there's a truck coming in one way and this guy's coming out, he decides to take too much of a turn? Now you got him stopping on Route 12 because.
I hear you both ways, Tom. I hear you both ways.
I think it has to be there. This truck's going in and out of there, I think it has to be there.
Is there ever the possibility of that?
How about Jersey Barry?
Signage on that island, or is that?
no, you won't need it.
Well, Jersey Barrett's just as wide as.
This is what, same width.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but then they can't go over it if you're only 2-3 feet high. They can
I was
go
9
Well,
inches high, isn't it?
9 inches.
9 inches high?
9
That's
inches.
pretty high.
It's this high.
Oh, that's about a foot.
No trucker's gonna drive over that to get out.
They're
They're
gonna
not
drive
even
it.
gonna know they go over the damn thing.
Oh, yeah, they will. Okay.
Essentially, it's
Yeah, it'll go
square
before.
curving. It's square curving.
Any other issues? I think the biggest issue we had was the use of the property. I think the condition is that Carol has it, that it be industrial use until it's approved by the city council. Okay?
Yep. What about, anybody give thought to the strip until it's approved? Temporary
Well,
strip?
a temporary strip, a strip would require moving the road. Okay, now we can request it.
Only toward-
Because there's no land, I mean, because the road goes right to,
Was anybody giving consideration
What
to the
difference does it
fact
make?
that
That-
industrial site plan requires a 50-foot buffer zone or it
Right.
abuts residential? Now that road is in the 50-foot buffer zone.
That's correct.
There's no residential there.
But there's no
It
residential.
abuts residential in the next town.
it abuts residential, we have to look at that.
That's in his house.
Well,
Residence A, David. It's Residence A. Residence neighbors are. Well, so, the car lot,
It says-
it's not very deep.
His house is back,
opinion of.
There's woods in the back.
In the public interest.
so it isn't residence right now.
No, but it's zoned.
Zoned for residents.
Doesn't make any
Zone
difference, it's zoned.
Regardless of what is or isn't there, it's zoned residential.
Zoned residential, so it doesn't, you know, it could be built residential.
How do we handle a buffer zone?
I don't know.
It wasn't talked
Is that specifically?
What is allowed in the buffer zone is the question.
Is that buffer zone
I always thought
Sterling?
parking, roads, driveways were not allowed.
Site plan review for industrial requires that where in business or industrial use abuts a residential
This is what
district.
we're dealing with on
Landscape
Harvard
buffer,
Street.
minimum 50 feet in depth, designed to mitigate the impact of the business or industrial use on the abutting residential district may be required.
Or
So
if it's a
is it gonna
residential-
require the board gonna require that or not?
What if it's
It's maybe required. That's correct, doesn't make any difference.
What are you reading
No,
from?
it doesn't. It doesn't. It abuts residential.
What page you on?
What number you want?
Page
What page?
61.
61.
5341.
But do we want to require?
And see, as long as we say
Well,
private
but you have to
way,
keep in mind, this is for site plan approval, this is a subdivision, an industrial zone. I don't, does it apply?
No, but when they come to develop each lot, you're going to need a site plan approval.
each industrial lot, Carol.
Or a business
Yep.
or industrial use abuts a residential.
So
still
that's
have
why I
the
was
issue. Yeah,
asking
but-
your interpretation. So that would only apply
Well, I'm thinking,
on
but even if that,
the 50-foot buffer zone between the lot and the lot line, between the building and the lot line, and not include the road, or is this road encroaching in what should be the 50-foot buffer?
Keep the road, if you go there.
It's going right to the line.
It's going right to the line.
So you can't move the road.
No, but you can stop it. You can stop at 50 feet short if you put a buffer there.
You don't have to move, it's not there yet.
Right.
True.
So, but the question is it easier to move it after it's paved or when it's on paper? So, I think it's easier to move them on paper than it is on pavement. But I'm not suggesting that, I'm just asking you how we're gonna handle that 50-foot buffer requirement.
Well, if it requires a 50-foot buffer and the roadway is, say, is 0,
It's got to stop 50 feet short. Which really comes down to the reserve strip, if it's in the public interest. See, look, it says, should the board decide not to require reserve strip or to otherwise restrict use of roadway A, restrict use means 50-foot buffer, the board may, in my opinion, require modifications to the proposed design of roadway A in anticipation of additional traffic accessing the road from adjoining land, if it was made public.
but it has been made public.
The road isn't public yet.
If the road was made.
if the road was made public. That's
This is
correct.
an important issue that we must address, because this is also the same issue that would be addressed on Harvard Street.
That's
and
correct.
White Street. It's true.
That's right. So, last paragraph, Kaufman page, letter. We decide not to require a reserve strip, we still have a buffer situation. And that's not restricting the use of roadway A at all, it's just requiring the buffer right now as the plan is laid out before us for an industrial zoned road. So,
Well, we can make a motion to deny it because it encroaches into the buffer zone.
that's all I'm saying, that's my input.
But is the
there.
use, well, do they,
But could he get his industrial
Was this-
lots?
was this written that the use is, was this written with the intent that the use also includes the roadway? Or just the
Well, see,
building?
No.
that's,
It's written any way you want it, it's written to interpret if you could put a reserve strip there, if you thought it was in the public interest. We're not asking a reserve strip, we're looking at the zoning regulations that are saying you need a 50-foot buffer.
Yeah, but my question is does the road, is the collector road itself considered part of the use? Or is it the building?
It says where industrial use abuts a residential district, a landscape buffer of a minimum of 50 feet, designed to mitigate the impact on the abutting residential district. May be required. Now, what do you like that word, may? What do you think of that word?
it allows us.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not absolute.
It's not absolute.
They could ask for a waiver, they could,
That's right.
Right.
Which they did.
well, but it's not, there's no site plan before us. This is under site plan, so Carmen's thinking ahead. And then when the time comes, Armin's gonna say you created your own hardship, so I'm not gonna give you the waiver. That's what he's gonna say.
Okay, what's the wish of the board?
Well, we seconded Carol's motion, we're just having a little discussion here.
See, and then
So-
even we even
Right.
have this other, you know.
I have a motion to approve the condition.
Use of roadway exclusive for access to three subdivision lots. I just want to draw everybody's attention, just the conversation, to this second to last paragraph in the Kaufman and Page letter. And if you want me to read it, I will.
Go ahead.
I note under the board's subdivision rules and regulations, industrial subdivision roads must be designed as collector streets. See section 2.0 definitions.
Yeah.
Additionally, pursuant to section 4.15.4, cul-de-sac type treatments are to be avoided in industrial subdivisions. Instead, looping streets and second streets should be provided. Okay, we've got a cul-de-sac. To the extent, therefore, that the subdivider may be seeking waivers of any of these requirements for industrial streets, the board may, in exchange for such waivers, require the subdivider to impose restrictive covenants on the land in the subdivision, including the roadway, limiting use of roadway A exclusively for access to the three subdivision lots.
Yeah. So why don't you just read that to me?
Because I'm just saying, there's a buffer issue we gotta think about, we're also looking at a
Well, I think-
cul-de-sac
I
on the
think-
roadway.
Yeah, but the buffer issue is not before, it's not before us right now.
We gotta.
What I'm saying, what that just says there is that we can approve this, but it's one of the conditions, is that we can condition the roads only to be used for these three lots.
That's correct.
End of story. No approval by the city council.
That's, oh, I see what you're saying, without, that it's just that it's gonna remain as a, if it's gonna either remain as a private way, or if it's a public way, it's still gonna
It's still
be
gotta go
restricted.
before.
I see
Still
what you're saying.
restricted.
I mean, it's just something to think about.
Yeah.
We did spend the money to get this advice, might as well take note.
So then that resolves the Armin's buffer issue.
That is correct.
Absolutely.
Because because then the buffer
It doesn't
goes...
really, it doesn't
Well,
really
it does and
resolve
it doesn't, but the buffer then goes to the industrial buildings themselves, or the different
Or
A&R
then
lots.
you're saying it's also gonna be easier to waive when they ask for a waiver.
That is correct.
So just something to think about.
Now I know why you read it to me.
Thank you. Cal, you know me, I don't read anything unless I have to. I'm just, we paid for this, let's make sure we understand what we're doing.
All right.
Okay?
Well,
What's the wish of the board? I have a motion on the floor to approve, I have a motion and a second, to approve condition used for the industrial lots until approved by the city council.
As a
Okay?
private way.
As a private way.
until it's approved as a public way.
Unless the
Private-
roadway is duly accepted as a public way.
Okay.
And to landscape the roadway so nicely that it could be
Well, let's,
Considered-
we'll get into the conditions.
vegetated buffer.
Now, do we want to add that amendment on that other paragraph?
Well, what we can do is we can change the motion. So you withdraw the motion and change the motion if you wish to make the
No,
condition.
it's Carol's
I'm
motion.
not gonna withdraw, I'm not withdrawing the
No,
Motion's
the
been made and
condition is-
seconded, we're just discussing it now.
That's right.
Right.
Now, what I'm saying is Copeland and Page says that we can put a condition on here that it can only be used for industrial. This says the city council can make the determination.
They can make the determination by whether they approve it as a public way.
Right.
Yeah.
If they approve it as a public way,
It's in their hands.
it's in their hands. And that means that they have to make a tough decision on it for a change, instead of us. No offense to the city council.
Okay. That's,
So, we could do it this way, we could vote on the motion that's on the table, then we get to the waivers, someone could make a Sal's suggestion or Sal's issue.
you can add conditions
You
on
can
that
add
then.
that as a condition.
At that time, because that's what
Sure.
she's saying, if they want waivers, then you can exchange it for some,
That's right. Okay. The motion is on the table. Motion's made and seconded. Everybody understand the motion? I'm gonna call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. On the waivers. That's the waivers you're going on.
yeah, Billy did them.
Here they are.
I'll start, I make a
Go, let's
mo,
read them. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to accept the waiver from section 4.1.0.9, requiring 25-foot property line radii at the intersection of the proposed road and Central Street. They're requesting,
Second.
what are you requesting instead of 25?
There's really nothing.
It's a right, it's an
That's it.
angle.
It's an angle.
Oh, okay.
Right
Just an
Okay.
angle. Motion made, seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Discussion, whoa, 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 whoa,
I didn't hear any.
whoa, whoa. We keep hearing about the discussions with the Mass Highway Department, we have nothing in writing from the Mass Highway Department, just something there to note as well. I mean, we're going on hearsay here.
Is there anything in writing?
Well, we can condition all of these so we get the report from the Mass Highway.
Just
That
a
approves
note of
it.
clarification, because, a
Okay.
phone call is a phone call is a phone call.
Okay, a motion. Let's do it this way. Let's cover these that
They still have to get
do
the
that,
approval
and
from
then
the state
we'll
to cut in
add
there.
That's
a
what it's
condition
true,
that we get, that they're not approved.
Well, I don't think we can do that because they're not in order. Some of them don't have anything to do with Mass Highway.
Right.
So I think Sal should add that condition to my motion.
I'm gonna add that condition to Carol's motion.
Okay, have an amendment?
Carol, will you amend that? I wanna see it in writing.
No, yeah, you
We
can
can
add
add it.
I'm adding it, I'm adding it.
it. Do I have a second? He's adding it that we get the communication from Mass Highway.
When they cut it, when they cut it to the highway, don't they have to get that Mass Highway?
Yeah.
anyway?
Yeah, they do, but have we seen the
He
document?
just
We
doesn't
haven't
say
seen
he
the
had, he
document.
doesn't, I asked
Oh,
Bill
it's-
earlier, he doesn't have it
He
yet.
doesn't
So
have the
when he gets it,
document. All
he'll
I'm saying is, let's
submit it.
see the
We get to give
document.
it to us.
That's all.
Okay, the motion is made is to accept with an amendment upon a receipt of the document from Mass Highway.
There you go. Thank you, Gene.
Have a second on that amendment?
Second.
second amendment, okay. On the amendment, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. On the motion as amended, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
I make a motion to accept a waiver from section 4.1.0.10, requiring the central line of the roadway to coincide with the central line of the street right-of-way upon the submission from the Massachusetts Highway Department and New England Power Company approving such a request.
There you go, Cal. Nice one. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Do I have any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries.
Make a motion to accept the waiver from section 4.1.1.0, requiring the width of the roadway for a collector street from 40 feet to 36 feet.
I'm opposed to that one.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Need a second, then we can vote it down, okay, just to get it on the table.
I'll second.
Mike seconds it. It's on the table. We request that reduce the road width to 36.
They're gonna need the width in there for the trucks and for the traffic. And because of the island, if the island stays, I'd rather see two 20-foot strips, a lot better
Okay.
for vehicles passing if somebody was to get stuck on one side of that island.
Keep it there.
Yeah, so.
Any any more discussion? Okay.
What was the motion again?
The motion was to accept, to approve.
Did anybody second that?
Yeah, a motion made and seconded. Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no.
No.
Motion is defeated.
Make a motion to accept the waiver from section 4.15.2, requiring the curb radii to be not less than 50 feet and be reduced to 30. Upon submission of approval from the Massachusetts Highway Department.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Actually, that's actually not the whole request.
What?
Because it's 30 feet to the north and 25 feet to the south.
Correct.
But that's not what I said.
I thought you said that, Carol.
Sorry. Okay.
You could have just said number 4, we could all see the.
Can't do that.
Number, how about?
No, okay.
Add,
Number 5.
no, 4A, you just add,
25 feet.
to add 25 feet. To amend, somebody a maker of the motion can amend the previous motion.
You want to add the 25, I'll second that.
Add the 25.
So moved.
5 feet to the south.
Motion made and seconded on the amendment, the original motion to add 25 feet to the south, as shown on the plans. All in favor say aye to the amendment. Opposed say no. Motion carries on the amendment to waiver 4.
Make a motion to accept the request for a waiver from section 4.15.4, which states, requesting that which states that looping streets and second exits should be provided to avoid cul-de-sac type turnarounds.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Do I have any discussion?
Yeah, this is where, second paragraph, second to last paragraph.
Yeah, she mentioned it, but...
No, she mentioned here, but I'm just talking here, if we're looking for a waiver,
You gotta stick it on one of them.
yeah, this is where we're gonna stick it. In exchange for such a waiver, require the subdivider to impose restrictive covenants on the land of the subdivision, including the roadway, limiting the use of the roadway exclusively for access to 3 subdivision lots. That's my condition.
That's Sal's amendment to Carol's motion is to add the condition that be industrial. Sal, you wanna...
Such waivers require the subdivider
Okay.
to impose restrictive covenants on the land in the subdivision, including the roadway, limiting use of roadway A exclusively for access to re-subdivision lots.
Okay?
Right?
You want me to give that to Andy? So you have it right?
It's,
That's the second paragraph from the end, right? So-
second paragraph from the end.
He's got it circled here for you.
Okay.
It's not the whole paragraph, it's only a portion of it.
Okay, I made reference to it.
Okay.
I'm gonna put a star next to it.
On the amendment, okay, to require, excuse me,
So if they ask for waivers, we can
that's right.
add
That's right.
this.
That's right.
So they probably shouldn't have asked for the waivers.
On the amendment, to take, on Sal's amendment, do I have a second on that?
Second.
I have a second. Okay, on the amendment, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no.
No,
Motion
let the
carries.
city council do their
That's the
job.
amendment, now you have to vote.
Okay, all in favor on the motion as amended. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no.
Well, I'm for the waiver, but I'm against the amendment, but I guess I don't know.
Is that you or
No, it's
I?
as amended. The motion is as, it's the motion as, you go on the amendment, then you have to go on the motion
Well,
as
no.
Like the
amended.
amendment, you could vote against it even though you made the motion.
No.
It's been changed.
Can't vote against it.
No, that's true.
Make a remote
Yeah.
motion.
Yeah, you can.
How can you do that?
Of course you can. The maker of, many times people make motions and then they vote against it themselves. Just all a motion is a vehicle to get a discussion on the table.
Yeah, but I didn't make,
Okay? It doesn't mean that you're for or against the motion. So once the motion is on the table, you have freedom to vote either way. Okay? So, I wasn't clear on the last vote, so the motion as amended,
As amended.
okay? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no.
no.
Okay, 4-2. Motion is defeated. This is approved.
It's approved.
Okay, did we have any other conditions or anything else on that? I think that covers it all. Whitney. Pioneer Park LLC, 34 Walden Court, Leominster, definitive subdivision for the development of industrial subdivision off Pioneer Drive. This is essentially the same plan that we approved. We disapproved, we took away from Mr. Young, and then it's just been resurrected going into road build. Any discussion?
Let's get the road.
Yes,
Go ahead.
I would like to request the developer, when they build the new section of roadway, to add an overlay to the north,
Just to make that.
out to, what's the name of the road out there? Leominster?
Oh,
Because that road needs it.
Is that a city street?
Just an overlay on the map, just to show.
no, he's talking about
Should have
putting a coating.
overlay.
Oh, okay.
A
You're talking
pavement?
about paving it all the way? Is that a public way?
It's a public way.
Yeah.
That's a,
Right,
pub- that's a public way.
Well, they made improvements on Harvard Street. The developers make improvements to access their projects all the time, especially when they drive loaded trucks in and out and over them for years and destroy them.
Excuse myself.
Is that premature?
What about the people who own the buildings?
That's a subdivision.
What about all the buildings that are there now? They created all those holes.
That's really a city issue.
I don't think it's our issue.
I don't,
That's why it'll never be improved, and that's why Willard Street will never be improved, because we don't stand up and say we need this, and people are coming into our city, making all kinds of money, taxes keep going up for the residents and down for the industrials.
I think this is the wrong,
Yeah, it may be the wrong time, but that's an issue.
We've got,
That is an issue.
there are some issues coming up with encompassing this property in a master plan and a site, which also takes in the site plan.
Right.
I think that might be more apropos at that time.
So we should ask the question, what's gonna happen to that section
Right,
out to Lunenburg?
right,
Like to see an overlay on there.
yeah,
Talk to the mayor. Talk to the mayor.
okay.
I mean, they're improving roads all over the city.
Let's get this done, and then we'll address that in the May 3rd meeting,
Okay,
okay?
very good.
Okay, on this one, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Motion carries. 4.3, 375 Harvard Realty LLC, 6 Miriam Avenue, Leominster, Mass. Site plan for new 80 by 80 expansion at 375. There's a couple of issues here. I think we should address probably the buffer and the rear entrance. The question of whether those properties are retail are really an issue of the building inspectors, okay?
That's code enforcement.
You know, and that's code enforcement. I agree with the information that the woman brought me, that's why I brought it to Andy. I'm gonna ask him to make sure, I had talked to a former director to do this, okay, and needless to say, when he left, it didn't happen. So I think we want to sit down and discuss this with Ed. I'd like to be involved.
Sure.
So we can set up a meeting and we'll address that issue. And we get that all clarified, okay? So we'll address that as a code enforcement issue and not a planning issue. Because that is a different issue, okay? And that's really, it gets technical because the planning board usually doesn't get involved with the actual use of the building. So that's why we have code enforcement people. I'm not backing off from it because I want to be involved, but at the same time.
How do you differentiate
Right, for
retail and commercial if the guy's selling?
And that's why I want to sit down with Ed
If
and
the guy's
find,
selling overhead doors and he's not handing them to them, he's gonna go to their house and put it on, is that retail or is?
I don't know, see, and
But they're
maybe,
moving anyway, that's marginal.
But I mean,
Yeah, that's.
but I think the one part where she went out to Let's Go and bought as a homeowner and bought a bag of fertilizer, that's retail. Okay? So, I don't know.
But does he gauge his business on that?
But I don't know, and that's why I gotta talk to anybody. I have information given to me tonight. We were supposed to have set it up with, Wayne a couple of weeks ago. Didn't happen because he left. So, I will set it up, okay, with Andy, and we'll sit down and we'll discuss it. And we'll get a decision from him, and maybe we'll go down there, okay?
Does he sell to like landscapers?
Mostly to landscapers.
Landscapers like that now?
Yeah, landscapers can, because that's a wholesale business. But I don't know what the business, I haven't gone in there and bought it right myself.
I think if they make it there, they can sell it there.
If they make it there, but they don't make it there, they're a distributor, they buy it and they have it there.
If you go strictly by the definition, that's true, but I mean, there's so many companies that blend that.
Yeah.
Do have a certain, even if it's 1%.
Yeah, if they make,
Really
even
make a difference?
if they bought bulk and put it in the bags, they'd be okay. Okay?
I know they don't.
I don't know. I don't know, because I haven't been there.
Yes, I don't know.
So that's why I have to go over there with Eddie and get a discussion and sit down and look at it. Okay?
It's not our enforcement.
That is correct. Now, on to the main issues that we have with the site.
Just a question. We're in discussion now, John?
Mm-hmm.
Can it work getting those loading dock spaces away from the neighborhood? Randy, can it?
Really?
I will allow the question.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to address you guys, but I think that would take a lot of a lot of heat away from this.
I won't, we'll go back and look. Our first initial was no. Just because of the ways the land goes now.
Okay.
You're gonna see,
I don't know.
the loading docks
I don't know.
are basically will be on the
I don't
second
know.
floor. And we'll have a basement on this part, which we don't on the original building.
Yeah. I don't know what you can, if they come around the building and then they
They'll be
back into
climbing
it, I'm not sure what your grades would be to do that.
I don't
May-
either.
You might come back and just say, hey, the grade, and the question was put forward to us. I don't know what the grades are at this time. Okay? Wesley doesn't know what the grades are at this time without looking at them. So we can't come up with an intelligent answer.
Did you drive?
Either way.
Well, I didn't know if you're figuring second floor, first floor.
Okay.
Yeah, that, that.
I don't know
could be a
either.
difference, but it would
It's
make a
just-
big
it's just an
difference
idea.
not to have doors opening towards
Okay.
houses, because then they wouldn't hear it as much.
Well, it wouldn't be right in their face
The
either.
doors facing away from them and lights facing away from them would be a lot better for the residential neighborhood if that stuff wasn't facing White Street.
Okay. I think what,
It's really not facing White Street, it's facing the banking that's there.
Well, it's facing it on an angle.
okay. What I'd like to do here is, we heard a lot, and if you want a copy of all the letters, we can give them to you also. What I'd like to see is, what I would like to do is continue this part, okay, and table this. And request, and we can do that, request a plan to look at that, putting the loading docks on the other side of the addition if possible. And to show on the plan, as you would read, actually show that there is 50 feet, delineate the 50 feet if you can, and show green and a landscape plan or something for that. Can you do that?
Can I clarify the issue there?
What's that?
Can I clarify something that she was talking about, the lady there, that the neighbor, I think the 145 feet was from building to building that we measured last time, and the 50 feet was pavement to pavement, not necessarily is on the property of the applicant. Obviously, it's like a 20-foot area that they had before the first pavement exists now. We're not looking
So
at it.
that's not even yours.
Exactly, but it's under city control. That's what most of the trees are, is within that layout that the city has, the 49, I think, and a half-foot layout.
You should delineate it. Is that delineated on the plan?
It is, the layout's on the plan. And that's what we were, and I haven't seen the video, but from what I recall at the last meeting, as I said, there's 50 feet of green between pavement and pavement. And that's what we were being asked. And the
But
same thing
is
is
it
how
really
many...
50 feet of green, or is it 20 feet of
No,
pavement, 30 feet of green?
It's 50 feet of, it should be, I think it's like 45, probably it's the smallest point, but it's, like I said, it's because of what's in the city right away.
Is that to the pavement, or is that to your property line?
Pavement to pavement.
Pavement to pavement?
Yes, not the property line. And so we don't have existing, there's not a 50-foot buffer there.
Is that from the building or from the pavement?
For the pavements.
To the pavement.
And again, I know, obviously, it's more of a redevelopment thing more than a new site plan, so it's kind of retrofitting the regulations to an existing site, yes.
I realize that.
And so asking for a 50-foot
And
buffer.
what you have there,
Yes.
okay,
It's pretty much
it's
where they're
45 feet, it's 45 feet. Show a landscape plan for that 45 feet.
Well, obviously, we're not gonna show any landscape in the city layout.
Not in the city layout, in your own layout, okay? In your own layout. And
Green stuff.
And
Thick green stuff.
And then,
Buy some fertilizer from Lesco. There you go.
and we're gonna check on the exit, okay? But I know we have done this before, and we did it to a number of people, is we really don't want exits out onto, okay? But I also know if there's an emergency, you wanna be able to use it. The fire department has set up for emergency exits where they have a keyed, a gate, okay? So a plan for something like that.
Can I just ask this?
Okay, it doesn't seem they're gonna have a lot of traffic, if you got the traffic going around the building and everybody exits on, okay, and Harvard. Now, also, you know, with part of the approval of the road tonight, on approval on that second piece of property for Lascotti, he's gonna go forward with the road. When he goes forward with the road, that now kicks off that he has already applied to the state for a restriction on Harvard Street anyway.
Probably the answer to that, this site, correct? Is that
Yeah.
supposed to be?
So anything north of, pretty much, I'm not sure where they'll make it, but it's gonna be before White Street enters anyway, is gonna be restricted to truck traffic. So
Trailer truck traffic, correct?
What's that?
Trailer truck traffic, correct?
Yeah, there's gonna be a weight limit, I'm not sure whether it's 10 tons or 20 tons or 5 tons, I have no idea what the state will put on it, but there will be some kind of a truck exclusion. So, but that's gonna be probably someplace around Harper's property or something.
I did see something.
Yeah,
I think it was right from the entrance of this piece.
Right.
Heading on.
So, they usually do it in a place where a truck could turn around, and not to impede, so to be above that. So we know that's coming, so you know that you're not gonna be able to use that back entrance anyway.
I think, and speaking for them, is the intention wasn't for trailer truck traffic to go through that back entrance. It was more for if a worker wanted to use the back entrance.
I don't disagree, but they had it locked, and I remember it being locked myself over the years, when ESP, everybody went in and out the front. And if they had 200 workers, you only have 40,
Not a big push.
not a big deal.
Especially, you know, and I'm just going, we got the contours here, Wes. It's basically the same on either side. I know you might have to reconfigure some of the parking.
But I think, not obviously, like I said, some of the building layout within inside the building has to be looked at too.
No,
But some of the
I
existing
understand
uses
that.
Going on that
I understand.
want to remain.
But I think
No,
if
I
you make that
understand.
good faith effort, making that change, that gets some of that traffic and the backing up trucks, okay?
But if it could work, it'd make a huge difference for you with the neighborhood too, just if you could make it work.
Good.
Because
Okay.
you're putting that addition on, and you might be able to make an accommodation, because it's the same elevations, it's about an 8-foot drop either side. And if you're worried about replicating the parking, you could replicate the parking on the other side where the original docks were proposed.
Were you proposing docks on the other side of it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that moves the docks away from them.
But I'm just looking at the contours line, saying it's about 8 feet either way. I don't know, you know, what you looked at on building on the 80 by 80, but
We're gonna find that document, because I think I remember it where the gate was required across the road.
we've done that a lot of
So
times.
the thing is, it's already required.
Yeah.
Well, is it?
We'll find it. Somebody will find it.
Yeah,
I mean, would it still
Find
be
it in the
required?
minutes from 25 years ago.
Yeah.
When Mr. Grabel, no, he said it was, when they did the addition 10 years later.
When the addition.
Okay. So I think with the discussion, I think you have some marching orders or something. We're not requiring you to make the change, but if it can be done and it's feasible and you can do your layouts, interior also, I think it'd make the whole plan work better.
Was that gate put there and used while the original building was built, and then they closed it down after the addition?
No, it was always closed.
It was always
just
closed. It was
emergency
supposed to be-
access.
Just emergency for fire.
Sort of like we do BJ's.
But basically, they had a chain when the fire department comes with a pair of bolt cutters and they're in there in no time flat.
Was they didn't want the people from Ridgewood
At
Drive
one
taking a
point, the
shortcut
back
through
gate
there.
was open when they were first in there. I don't, that's why I clarified that it was a condition of the addition. The second, when they added on to the building, and
Right.
that's.
I don't want to go into discussion
I
on that.
believe, it's all.
Okay. So we have some information. Do I have a motion to table this to the next meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Do we have time?
So if you live on Ridgewood,
Andy, do we have time on
if you
this?
live on Ridgewood,
We had a thing on there, didn't we?
Yeah, now would this come under, would this require another hearing again?
No.
No hearing, hearing's
Okay.
No,
closed.
do we have time for the submission of their plan to vote, like, or it's gonna expire?
Let's take a look.
It's one of the, it's not listed under
Decision
decision
deadline.
deadlines on this
Yeah.
one.
Well, I'm just trying to see. Arch, 275, 315, so yes, we have time.
Great.
Okay.
Oh, 315,
Yep.
okay.
No, 315?
Yeah,
That's when I came in.
continued from 3/15.
That's when it opened, that's when you go by when it first opens, the public hearing first
Right.
opened?
And we get 90 days.
Okay,
Right, so we have time.
so I move to
Okay.
table.
Move to table to the next meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. New business, Whirlwind Capital LLC, 40 Shawmut Road, Suite 200, Canton, Mass. 02021 for the development of 8-lot subdivision off Willard Street.
That's
Continue
continued
to,
This is continued to the
to May
May 7th, no,
Yep, this,
17th, Andy, or 3rd?
this was actually continued to the 17th.
Okay.
May 17th.
No, actually, you know what, now that I'm looking at it, we never actually set a date.
move
No, we
to,
didn't.
move to continue to May 17th at 6:45.
Second.
There you go.
Yeah, we had the William Street site.
That's right.
Okay. Okay. 5.2, the proposed by Leominster Planning Board pursuant to Chapter 41, Section 81Q of the Massachusetts General Laws 2. And I'm not going to read it.
That's had much deliberation, and I think...
Yeah, I think it's a great thing.
Move to adopt the new
Second that motion.
fee schedule.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.
There we go.
We have a problem. Our cameraman's falling asleep on us.
No, he's on, he's just relaxing, he should. Jeez, he's getting,
Careful, we can't
He's
do
closed his eyes.
watch out.
Communications,
Remember what worms here.
David Ross Associates, library project modifications.
I've reviewed this, they're gonna be 1.3 feet closer to the one sideline because of reconfiguration, but they're gonna be greater distance from other, I move that we recommend approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to recommend approval.
Increase.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. CBA cases.
We just have the one.
Go ahead, Andy, you're on.
It's, right, you say the name. Hayek.
Okay, Kerala El Hayek.
There you go.
91 Main Street, and applicant wishes to sell used cars from the property located at 91 Main Street. A special permit would be required from the zoning board of appeals.
91 Main Street, 91 Main. Is that after the lights near City Tire?
Right after the little...
Everybody wants to do something.
Right there after the-
Is that the
Getting
Getty
station.
Oh, excellent.
I mean, right after store 24?
Right.
It's Mo's gas station, isn't it?
Oh, that's right, that's the original
place they had, yes.
This is my thoughts, it's already being used, but
What's his
same
name?
people don't know it. It's about 20 cars on that lot. Yeah, price tag on it. I would like to refer this to the Board of Assessors, ask them if granting this would increase the value of this property, and how much revenue would that mean to the city? And also, at the same time, if granting this to this property might decrease the value of the abutting properties. Is it that?
This is Mo's?
You must put in a...
This is
And I
Mo's,
think
right?
that's an important consideration to make.
Yeah, it is.
Before you
Before you allow somebody to add value to their land, to make sure they're not taking that value from their abutters.
And you got a church and school there too.
Well, our recommendation is to the ZBA. So we can make that recommendation to the ZBA.
That's what you want to get
Recommend
forward.
that the powers, ask the assessor that question.
Okay.
Okay? As far as, and what about the layout?
Just say we need to.
Well, you know, cars are out there right now, right?
Uh-huh.
And they're already doing this right now, right?
There's about 20 cars over here right now.
Which is, you know, what are we doing here? What?
Just
you know,
legalize it. Eddie, somebody must have got on their case because they didn't have a permit. So now they're doing this to get a permit so they can get their permit. That's my
They
guess.
didn't have a constitute permit.
I have no idea. That's,
So
I'm strictly surmising.
From what I've looked into it, they don't have a class 2 permit, they're not bonded either. That by being a used car lot, it's not gonna increase the value of the neighborhood, it's not gonna raise the
Oh,
tax.
so you didn't have to ask the board of assessors, you got Michael Cooley
They're
answering
gonna, you know, they're gonna put 10, 12 used cars out there and try to hawk them, and they've probably been doing it, and they just got caught that they can't do it without a license.
There you go. You know, I'm so sick of
I don't think
seeing
it's a good idea to have a
these
used car lot
things.
right on Main Street.
I don't like it either.
Well, first of all, wait a minute. He has to apply for it because the city council came to us. So, the city
Well,
council.
he's just
But
looking
it's still gonna
for,
be a recommendation.
we recommend denial to the ZBA.
All right, yes.
Yeah.
Move to recommend denial if they don't meet the criteria for the special permit under section 22-13 of the zoning board of zoning ordinance,
There
specifically
you go.
22 what, Carol, sorry?
13.
13.
We've got this happening in way too many places
Oh, I agree.
in this city. People go and do what they want to do until they get caught. They get caught, and all of a sudden, they go to the ZBA.
Okay, just,
Hey. Drives me crazy. It does.
So Carol made the motion.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
second
but
it.
I'm giving it, I have to, they want to know why we deny it. And when it doesn't meet the criteria special permit under section 22-13, specifically, the proposal would constitute a nuisance due to air and water pollution, flood noise, dust, vibration, lights, or visually offensive structures and accessories. And the proposal would be a substantial inconvenience and hazard to abutters, vehicles, and
There you
pedestrians.
go, Karen.
sounds good.
I would say included but not limited to those two.
There you go.
Including but not limited to.
That's for sure.
Okay. 22-13.
Okay. I have a motion on the floor to recommend denial to the ZBA per Carol's motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. City Council petition, 7805, Wachusett Development and Construction Incorporated. Grant a special permit to expand parking by 8 spaces on the west side of the building at 166 Hamilton Street, located within the floodplain.
Do you have a map on that?
Did we get, is that all we got? I think that's all
It's a
we got.
map.
Yeah, there's a little map in the package.
I think it's good.
Is it under there?
I'll use
This one, right?
I don't know, my papers have gotten so mixed up. Oh, here it is.
This one, right?
I think it's outstanding.
Oh, that's Hamilton Street. Here we go. There we go. Forest. It's not Forest, by the way.
Before I forget, I don't want to lose.
Forest Street, Canada Street. So what is it, lot 1?
Where'd you get this?
I don't know.
Maybe it doesn't look like that, but you should have one.
Subdivision?
Really? Complain to your department.
166 Hamilton Street. That's great. What's 166?
Well, the front page references Forest Street, so that's on the other side of the bridge. I'm just trying to think. It's on the other side of the bridge, am I right, Forest Street? Or is that before the bridge? Going over Route 2.
No, Lodge's Forest is, it's not Forest, it's been changed. That's the street that goes over to the sewage treatment facility.
Forest Street is, so it's right across.
But that's not the name anymore, it's been changed.
All right.
See, because Lodge is where the dome is.
Right.
Forest Street in Leominster, in Pittsburgh, it's, what is this?
But that's been changed on Forest.
Engineered.
Right, so where's Lodge's? Okay, no,
Lanity's is where it is.
Lanity's Lane, yeah.
That's Lanity's. Now, well, which one of these is 66?
Yeah.
Where exactly are we talking?
We're talking, you know where the dome is?
Yeah.
That's, if you go to front page, that's 238. No.
That's right here. The dome is right here.
Right.
But what
Okay.
is the property?
But
So
yeah,
which is
where
what this-
on the second page?
The drawing doesn't show me.
Is this where the dome is?
I don't know, we don't know. It says existing unpaid parking area.
38.
Red checker would be,
On the little-
it's
little-
off the site. It's over,
Directly across from Forest Street.
Yeah.
Okay. But where's the property we're talking about?
So not only that, I'd like to know where's the 8 spaces they're talking about. They don't show those either.
This one right here.
Yeah. So I'd say.
What 8 spaces?
They want 8 parking, and it's an 8-space parking area in the floodplain.
That's the existing building, is this what there is? There's 2 existing
There's 2
buildings.
existing
I understood
buildings.
that plan on Franklin Street more than this.
You know what, this is insufficient.
Insufficient information
Insufficient
requested
information. Show the 8 parking,
that
delineate
the
8 parking
representative
spaces.
of
It's great, this guy drew this.
Wachusett Development,
Well, he used the old plan when they did some work in there. I can see what
Okay.
he did, because they did do that work in there. He used the old plan.
I recommend we table this motion for insufficient information and request that
Second that motion.
a representative of Wachusett Development be present at our next meeting to explain it to us.
I have no idea what this is.
No.
I can't figure it out.
John, you'd like
But I've done that.
Wachusett Development.
would you like them present at the next meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, okay.
All in favor, motion is in order. You made the motion, motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no, motion carries. Director's report, Susan Johnson's appointment with city council. I have been appointed for another 5 years. Did you have something else?
No, just, it was brought up that per the charter, they should be annual appointments, and where you just, when the last vote was taken, you hadn't officially been
Oh, we have to redo it.
appointed by the city council, so.
I said that.
By the way, it was 8
Right.
to 1.
I do remember you saying that, so now this is, you've been appointed, this is the first meeting since you've been
Now we
appointed
can
by the
do
council.
this.
Now you can be
Are we off?
reappointed.
That's correct.
No.
I move to nominate John Souza as chairman of the planning board.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Yeah, get a life, will you?
Here or none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. No.
Sal says,
I would like
That's
to,
what you're living for, John.
I would like to make a motion, entertain a motion, that Carol
She's all
Victorioso
set.
be,
She's all set. We already made
no,
did
no,
that.
this is gonna be annual.
When are you
Oh,
up?
No, we
oh,
did
you
that
did, oh, you
last
did
year.
yours
You
last
weren't
time.
official yet, because you
That's
hadn't
right.
gone through your second reading.
Okay, a motion is in order to adjourn.
No, that's my motion, but there's discussion of current litigation first.
No, but that's gonna go in
Motion to
executive
adjourn.
session.
Motion to
No,
adjourn.
motion to adjourn, Andy.
Second.
Thank you.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no.